Face front, true believers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Rohith Dar.
And yes, the moment has finally arrived. Deadpool and Wolverine has come out. Everyone's seen it. And now we're going to talk about it. We're going to do a spoiler cast. We're going to tell you all the cool stuff that's in this movie. Is it exciting?
Yep.
Yeah, so this easily my most anticipated film of 2024. I love Deadpool. I love the Deadpool movies. I tracked that first film for 7 years. It's an old, tired story, I know, but just I followed that thing ever since X-Men Origins Wolverine. And again, even though he's kind of a little before X-Men Origins Wolverine, that's when I was introduced to the character, so he holds a very special place in my heart ever since I saw Hulk versus. And just so I've always been really excited every time we get a new Deadpool movie, and just feel very lucky just to see him just kind of flourish and get a movie. And it's the fact that we were lucky enough to finally kind of see it all like happen in the first place. I could have gone home happy after the first movie. So the fact that we got so much out of it, we keep going even though there's like a lot of kind of time in between, and it kind of brings it full circle in that we had like a 7 year development. Well, technically, it was over 7 years. I'm saying publicly it was 7 years, and then between Deadpool 2 and this film, roughly almost a similar amount of time, roughly 6 years. So finally, everything about this is huge. We finally got Wolverine, which is always kind of the missing piece of the Deadpool films, and the MCU, the other missing piece. So this is very much, as far as a trilogy goes, who knows where we're going from here? It's not like a set in stone. It has to be a trilogy, but this is the third entry. We get Sean Levy. He's directed Ryan Reynolds before. He's clearly got chemistry with the man. So very very proven track record there. I was nervous because there was some tension over the a lot of tension over the strikes, and like if we were going to be able to improvise, or if there were going to be rewrites or everything. Again, I kind of figured at the end of the day it would just be like, as soon as it's sells, you could always just re-record lines with the mask on. So it's kind of not the end of the world, but point being, everything worked out there. I guess just the way to sum it up is that everything this is everything I could have hoped and educated wished for. How do you feel, Rohit?
I think overall, in just having the time to watch this last Thursday and thinking it over, overall, I think this film is one of the best MCU films in the multiverse saga. I think for the wider MCU, I think there's plenty of other films that do well. I still think Deadpool 1 is my favorite of the quote-unquote trilogy, but Deadpool Wolverine overall shines in its chemistry with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. The comedy is just on point. I think the fan service and throwbacks to remember this are done well and are done with a sense of energy and vibes. I think the downsides are really here's the big downside for me is just that with the 2 hour length, I feel like it was a little not too long to the tooth, but I felt like for me there's certain points where it's like, if you cut like a few seconds off of certain scenes, like eventually you would have a little bit of a more of a tighter movie. And so in my mind, I think the first movie holds out because like overcomes because it's much more tighter, more well paced. But in spite of all that, I had a great experience in the theater. I think this is a movie that obviously people are responding well to. And I don't think it's necessarily because of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, teaming up and the novelty of it. I think there is a story there. In terms of its themes, it utilizes the multiverse concept in the way that works for its themes. So when we get sort of the meat and potatoes of the story, I think there's a lot to unpack. And I think overall, I am excited and intrigued to see where Ryan Reynolds goes with the character in further adventures in the MCU and beyond.
So, real quick before I shout out some comments, I want to concur with Rohit that look, very biased, I know, but again, the first Deadpool movie I would still stand by as like that's like the perfect Deadpool film. It's like we only get one crack at it. Like that's everything we need to say about the character, represent about him, and like it's like basically Deadpool mocking the superhero origin movie. And there's something just kind of like it's like instant classic about it. Just everything just kind of went into that film and just kind of just kind of made it what it was. Just something special about it, like the film that was never meant to be actually happening, and it does hold up, and you can rewatch it. And like there's not a knock against that movie for me. And I did like a whole just like little like one of the very few things I ever did. I did like a did like a kind of an equivalent to superhero rewind on it. My own. I did like a review of the first Deadpool movie way back when.
Mhm.
But yeah, the I just think it's an insanely solid trilogy. I think like all three are great in different ways, and I love that kind of similar to Wolverine and his trilogy. Well, not precisely like Wolverine, because Wolverine is a little more unique in that each film is like in a different timeline, which is even when you factor in this, it is still the same, different timelines and variances and such. It's just the fact that we have like three Wolverine films that are very distinctly different, and yet still granted by the same character. And Deadpool has like we have three Deadpool films with three different directors, and all kind of same writing team. Well, I mean, like we don't lose any writers; we kind of add to the writers with each film. But yeah, so it's going to be exciting to get into this. Let's take the temperature of the audience here. Uh, Ramella Malone, he's joining us. Says, "Hey everybody, yeah, it's good to have Ramella. It's been a while since we have him. See, Ramella only shows up when it's something he wants to watch, but we're glad to have him all the same." Let's see. So we have Code Geass anime fan Michael Fox is Michael J. Fox, and Christopher Lloyd are the perfect Deadpool Wolverine, respectively. Yeah. Let's see. Executive Judge. I think he's promoted himself since we last saw him. Um, Deadpool 2 is my favorite of the trilogy, but Deadpool Wolverine are a close second. Again, look, there's a whole lot to love about 2. Again, two is fantastic. Oddly, I think longer than this movie. I mean, with the runtime, I kind of again, the first Deadpool movie is really lucky in that it kind of it's like clocks in at like an hour and 15 minutes. Might technically a little short if you sand out the credits, but it's very tightly paced. Deadpool 2 is the longest because it has like there's like three cuts of the movie, and then you have this, which I think is kind of like in the middle, where it's like I think it's a tight 2 hours, but you're not wrong. We kind of linger on a few jokes, but again, it's just kind of subjectivity of humor, perhaps. I don't know. Let's see. Kogia says, I'm going to assume that I enjoyed the film, but did he enjoy it more than Old Dads? Yes, Code Geass, I did. All right, let's see. It could be argued that Wolverine has two trilogies, but all three, with the original X-Men films centered around him, that's true. He's very central, which we call out in this movie with the anchor point thing. Okay, I think we're all caught up now. All right, so let's break it down, man. So again, folks, going to be spoilers up the yin yang on this. We're talking about it all. We're talking about it all, hopefully in economic fashion. Jacob in the comments, yes, he says he's running. He's kind of running things here. I enjoyed this movie a lot too. Yes, yes, he did. Okay, so the opening. So Deadpool tradition. We're kind of checking with the story, middle of the action, with kind of a whammo blammo action sequence, and then we have some fun opening titles. So I love the opening of this movie. What do you think, Rohit? How do you feel about it?
Oh, like
Digging up the grave.
I what a hilarious. I appreciated the ball. I don't know about you, Dragon. I think this is my favorite opening sequence of the three movies. I think it's just the ballsiness of it, and the fact that like when the TV agents come in, like he starts a fight to the tune of NSYNC's "Bye Bye Bye," which is so in sync. Oh my god, yep, no pun intended. With Ryan Reynolds, as an actor and his relationship with Blake Lively, all that stuff, like it it was just such a good place to set the tone for this movie, and I think it reflects what makes Ryan Reynolds, work the way he does, because it's like that particular moment is something Ryan Reynolds would only think of and execute. Like if James Gunn were to do a moment like that, he'd do something that's a little bit more off kilter, idiosyncratic. But I think Ryan Reynolds kind of being like was well publicly known that like he's a really big pop fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so having NSYNC play, in the background, it's just like mauling dudes with adamantium skeleton like fragments. It's just it's it's one of the more enjoyable parts. Um, in not only this movie, but I think just the overall like Deadpool trilogy.
Yeah. A couple, real quick. Little Blue said that he's present in the comments. Well, yes, but earlier you said you weren't going to be, so that's why I was a little initially thrown that you were here, Little Blue. So sorry about that, but welcome. All right, let's see. Okay, anyways, but yes, so I'm with you. I mean, look, the first Deadpool movie's opening. I mean, that's pretty much just like that's the recognition that okay, they're doing the sequence from the from sorry, my enjoyment of the opening of the first Deadpool movie is primarily from like when I see that like that awesome opening kind of credit sequence, and I'm realizing, oh my god, this is everything from the test footage and the the opening of the script that starts in the middle of the action, and you see it play out. It's like, oh my god, that's me just geeking out about it. But from a structural standpoint and just kind of like sheer fun and just kind of setting the tone, you're right, this opening is incredible. And with that, it's like we're taking how we opened Deadpool 2 and then we're pushing it to the next level. And I did wonder in the back of my mind if we were going to do this, because everyone, the question everyone had going into this movie, which they self-awarely bring up with this opening, is like, how is this going to affect Logan? And there's a very big component of the movie. Like, is this going to undo Logan? Is it going to ruin Logan? And the answer is, it's not. Here's the thing: it's not going to affect Logan, but it is going to touch Logan, and mostly touch him after
Literally.
death. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like we can't say Logan is untouched by the opening of this movie, but in the past tense, so that doesn't do any harm. So, and this is always I've seen like a couple fan films of like Deadpool at the grave site, so this always did seem like in a perfect world, they would have Deadpool's reaction be this. And when they opened the movie like that, I was geeking out. Oh my God, yes! Deadpool's not taking Logan's death well. And we kind of made fun of this in the opening of Deadpool 2, where it's like, he's dying, he's stealing all my thunder in this movie. Well, you know what? I'm dying too. So it's just so on brand, and seeing him hang out with the adamantium corpse is priceless and wrong. It just the whole opening, the fight scene, and that just the digging up the body thing. It feels like Joe Kelly Deadpool, which is Deadpool kind of at his prime. Is very much the definitive Deadpool, and it's what you want, and it feels right, and him taking shots at Logan as much as he can, just kind of out of sheer jealousy, in all the right ways, and like it's like Deadpool just taking like again, it's just setting the precedent of like. Sorry, let me put it this way: as well as him like doing like messing around with the skeleton, like doing the Hugh Jackman Australian accent and everything, it's just really great that he's saying like, "Hey, he's the reason this took so long, and now I'm gonna remedy it. And this is me making fun of his biggest achievement. That is the reason he couldn't show up in the Deadpool movies right at the start. That's perfect. And a little NSYNC never hurt.
Yeah, and actually, if you don't mind, Dragon Jacob, I kind of want to highlight Romelo's comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, this it's the second. Yeah, this is the second time the NSYNC song "Bye Bye Bye" is played, and I think I remember the first time. And do you know which scene happened the first time?
You have to remind me a little bit, Rohit.
It's when it's an X2. It's when Wolverine, Rogue, and Bobby like they break into Scott's car.
Right.
Take
Yeah,
out
Yeah, no, I get it.
fanatically with like the excommunicator thing, and then the music
Mm-hmm.
plays.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. You've got to appreciate the deep cuts. And they had, I don't know if it was like, I think it was just someone who was like, who memorized like the NSYNC dance. Because basically, with the way he's dancing in this fight, that's the dance from like NSYNC did when they sang that song. So that's what, yeah. So they actually put someone, a dancer, in the Deadpool suit for that sequence, by the way.
Yeah, I saw their like I know it was on social media their posts, and
Hmm.
it's like, man, that's what a cool thing to just be a part of.
So anyway, just opening is just is pitch perfect. I guess with the pop component, like even more pitch perfect. It's just great. It's very '90s. It just fits. So we have our opening, and then we have essentially the Avengers job interview. So Deadpool pops over to the MC using Cable's time device. We're in 2018. And this is a really I like that we note that it's 2018 because it's post Deadpool and pre Infinity War. That's essentially what's happening. So the idea is like Tony Stark is around, but we're doing this kind of fun meta thing where, on one side of it, it's him interviewing for the Avengers, and he wants a meeting with Tony Stark, but he's stuck with Happy. On the flip side, he wants a meeting with Kevin Feige. He's getting the guy who basically started the MCU with Jon Favreau, in terms of making the movie. So I think that's kind of a funny kind of double reference there.
So is Kevin Feige in a way Doctor Doom?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, but he
Is,
might
is,
be
is his cap basically like his hood
if it
or his
helps.
mask?
Yeah, yeah, he was right about Robert Downey Jr. not making cameos. Yeah. Anyway, of course, they have the Easter eggs in the office and everything. Is like the proof Tony Stark has a heart, and the cat. I love that we have the cap shield from the unfinished cap shield from Iron Man 2. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so long story short here, Deadpool. So Deadpool's in a good place at the end of Deadpool 2. He revived everyone, he got away with it, and now what's the next adventure? Well, Deadpool, after success, would want to be in the big leagues. He wants to cross over into the MCU, essentially. He wants to be an Avenger, and Happy. I love how patient Happy's being with him. He's not just getting angry. Here's what's really funny. He's treating him, and I like to think this has something to do with a Happy Hogan post Spider-Man Homecoming. Is that he treats Deadpool a lot nicer than he initially treated Peter Parker. If you think about it.
He's had time to just to get used. Well, in fairness, at the end of Homecoming, like he is a little bit more appreciative of Peter. So I
That's
think
what I mean. So it's at post Homecoming. I think it's intended, and he's come around on kind of
yeah.
like yeah. So yes, we have. I love how gentle Happy is and kind of letting him down. He kind of makes the really big kind of thematic point towards the start of the film that it's not about needing this. It's about people needing you. It's about doing the right thing, being of service. Not just of like service to yourself, which is essentially as Wade. Well, we check in after this to about 6 years later, basically in kind of the post end game kind of era. We check in with Deadpool's status quo. He is retired from merking. He really needed that Avengers job basically kind of convince Vanessa that he was worth still hanging around with after getting her killed accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Initially, I was a little worried about this, but I think the kind of noodling it over and just really seeing how it pays off. It's that when I go back to the first Deadpool movie, the thing with Deadpool and Vanessa that really wowed me and still wows me is that it's always a runner in the Deadpool comics that his relationships and his love life never ends well, particularly with Vanessa. Like I knew for a fact that he's not going to end up with Vanessa, which is why it was such a pleasant surprise in the first Deadpool movie that okay, Deadpool actually kind of won at the end. He kind of like Charlie Brown kicked the football. How rare is that?
Mm-hmm.
And and I like that. Then Deadpool 2 kind of sets it back. Okay, this is kind of what happens in the comics. She gets killed off, and then eventually kind of comes back through comics logic, and that's all very accurate. And here it's just kind of the thing yet again where Deadpool it tracks for his character. Where initially I'm wondering like why the breakup, but Deadpool is it's on brand for him to sabotage his own happiness, and he essentially did that in the first movie with him like leaving her after the diagnosis to go cure himself, well, to attempt to cure himself, which leads to like a lot of like looking at himself all scarred up and not wanting to reach out to her. So all that is on brand for him. So I don't really have a problem with that. But it was initially a bit of a worry, but it all I think it did track ultimately.
Mm-hmm. No, and I kind of appreciated that. I think this movie surprisingly, out of all three Deadpool movies, is the closest to Deadpool's like characterization in the comics, in the sense that he has this kind of like, yeah, obviously he's the merc with the mouth and all that stuff, but underneath all of that is that there is a human being who has such a deep well of self-loathing, and he makes like Spider-Man by contrast more chipper.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think where Wade Wilson's at the beginning of the movie and his normal status quo is not like a deadbeat on drugs or just kind of walling and squall or whatever, but he's just kind of like just coasting by in a very like tepid, vanilla, just milk toast existence of being like a used car salesman.
Absolutely. With his trusty ally Peter from Deadpool 2.
Mm-hmm.
So something we should mention with Peter. It does become apparent to me by this film, and I kind of you kind of realize it once we get to the big third act moment. Yeah, Peter should have been Bob.
See, I wonder if it's like a rights thing to where they couldn't use Bob because Bob's part of Hydra, and Hydra might just be more legally under Marvel Studios.
Well, here's the thing. It's well, yes and no, Rohit. What happens? Bob is in the first Deadpool movie, technically, which is another yet amazing thing about the Deadpool movie. They found a way to sneak Bob in, despite the rights issue that did exist when they made Deadpool 1 and 2. That's the thing. So Deadpool 1 is like we snuck Bob in. 2 is like, okay, we can't quite really do the things we want to do with Bob because he's not a Hydra agent. And, they kind of found an opportunity with Peter, and Peter fits the Deadpool kind of tradition. This is the thing I kind of highlight when I've talked about it before, is that there are a few traditions with the Deadpool character where he many times has random side characters that kind of stick around and they're really funny, which is like Dupinder. Dupinder is the prime example of the random side character who has like a lot of who kind of tracks like that, where Deadpool just kind of has these random interactions that then kind of come back and become running gags. And executive judge asks, "Who's Bob?" So Bob in the comics, Deadpool does have a sidekick, or at least he gets a sidekick again in that spirit of like kind of the random side characters who kind of like stick around at times. Basically, it was in the Bob was introduced in Cable and Deadpool. It was I remember Riley Brown did the art on it. So it was Riley Brown, Fabian Nicieza. Basically, it was Deadpool was shrunken. I don't want to start a little boy with the D's. The point being, Deadpool infiltrated a Hydra base, and even while he was like an inch tall, like pint sized, he terrified the heck out of Bob, who's just a random Hydra agent, and ended up basically he ended up befriending him, and they kind of became a sidekick. Just kind of this very afraid, very non macho Hydra agent who's just very diminutive, very just like just a lot of fun. Just a cowardly Hydra agent. Let's see. That's the thing. So Bob is just basically imagine like a Hydra agent. He's wearing the traditional green and yellow garb, but he's just much more cowardly. That's essentially Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the point being, Peter just basically being like just like a really good kind of nice guy, kind of like, and Bob's also he's a nice guy. He's married, kind of like very mundane kind of character, which basically Peter had a lot in common with Bob, and so Peter was very
At least with what you described, your description of Bob, it feels like kind of like his characteristics have been diffused to other characters in the Deadpool movie. So like Peter, Dopinder, and I think, and sort of just a little thing that I have to say is that for all the what the film does right, I kind of wonder for people that, and I don't know, I've not seen this reaction, but it's interesting. I'd be interested to hear. And some people may not like this movie as much as the first two Deadpool movies because there's not much focus or not much like many scenes with like Deadpool supporting cast. And I think of that particular line of criticism, not necessarily because I had that issue, but I think back to, say, Ant-Man Quantumania, how a lot of people made the point that, like, hey, this doesn't feel the same without the Wombats or Cassie's mom and Paxton and all that stuff. So it is really interesting that, like, they're there at the beginning, they're there at the very end, but with Peter kind of coming in the middle, for the most part, it's like it's just the Deadpool Wolverine, show. I mean, it just being a movie. So I'm curious to your thoughts on that. Like, do you think Do you think we should have had more of the supporting cast, or where they were, like their percentage of the movie screen time was like good enough, or even
I think it was the right. I think they made the right call because we've dedicated two movies, specifically the second movie, to kind of seeing the full supporting cast, and we still have Blind Al represented very well.
Mhm.
We mention her when we're in the void, so at least she's still. We mention her and Vanessa while we're in the void, so they're still in play. And importantly, the photograph thing. The photograph thing basically we establish the supporting cast that we spent time with in the other two movies as Deadpool's family, which he came to grips with in the second movie. That he very much labeled them the F word. He labeled them the family,
Mhm.
and that's essentially that's what his world is. That's what he's trying to protect. So I think reestablishing that with the birthday and seeing Deadpool in a good place with a toupee, we see him in a good place despite kind of throwing away the mercenary life. It really, I think it's good to establish what he's fighting for and why he cares. Again, he doesn't care about the whole universe. He cares about those 9 people. And that's thing, we don't really need more than that. And I mean, look, and the only reason we would have had more Vanessa is if we did the mutant thing with her, which we still haven't quite done, but that's because there's no room for it. And that's if we get more Deadpool stuff, then maybe we'll experiment with it. But it's not really, it was never really necessary. Tim Miller always wanted to do the full-on copycat thing, but because of the way Deadpool 2 went, he was never, he not being able to direct that project, they never really did that with her. So Vanessa, there's only so much you can really do there without kind of tacking her along, which then would have, you're right, would have became like an Ant-Man Quantumania thing. So I think they made the absolute right call because again, we have like a whole. We're not really going to get much more out of Shatterstar. Let's be honest. It's like, come on.
Yeah, and it's like because I would think like 'cause I think in future Deadpool movies, it's like especially if the X Men come to full fruition. I kind of that's where I'm kind of curious about like
I think the
post.
big thing I want to see Colossus and Wolverine interact if we were to possibly see them again. That's the
I
one thing.
I was really surprised that they didn't get Colossus into the picture at any point and have him do like the speedball.
The fastball special.
I thought it was no, it makes it with speedball. Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
basketball special. Okay.
Yeah. But that's the thing. You're right though. That's the thing. Where again, you'd have to convolute a way to throw Colossus in the mix. But you mean it makes me hope that if we do see him again, perhaps in a Secret War situation, because again, we do kind of hint at that a little bit that we will see Deadpool Wolverine at least one more time.
Yeah,
And
because
if we were to bring company, I think Colossus would be in tow.
yeah, I mean the fact that there was the cover of 2015 Secret Wars like in the Void Desert.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like they very much intend for both Deadpool and Wolverine to be in Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Well, that's the thing. At the very least, Secret Wars. They might save, so like with Endgame, might save some half of the surprises for the other movies. So it's. Let me put it this way. I think the equivalent to Giant Man would be, like from like Captain America: Civil War, we do the big Giant Man reveal. Our equivalent there might be okay. We need some surprises and some fun stuff. Would be we're gonna do the fastball special the next time we have Deadpool, Wolverine, Colossus in the fray.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we got to save some stuff for the next movie and just we've reintroduced things and well again we'll get to some of that more a little bit later, but
Yeah.
yeah. So again Wade's birthday and everything's kind of nice. Anyway, selling cars with Peter again. So it's a nice reintroduction of Deadpool's family and and everything. Then the TVA comes a knocking.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get into the TVA plot here. So I did a little bit of a rewatch. A little bit of rewatch. I'm going to be seeing the movie again proper soon, but
Okay.
that's like proper. Basically, so much of the footage has been leaked online recently, so I was able to refamiliarize myself with a few key parts of the movie for these purposes. But again, I think I don't know if I need more time for it to digest here, but if my read on it's correct, Paradox is. So Paradox, of course, played by Matthew McFadden, I believe, who was from Succession. Who's really good. Plays Tom in Succession. A lot of fun.
And Pride and Prejudice.
Yep, that's right. So basically, this guy, he's very much off the reservation post Loki season 2. He very much believes in the old way of doing things. He wants to become he wants to become the TVA. He wants to, like, instead of, like, it sounds like he was just very much kind of like off the books doing this, like he's not been permitted to. He's just, I guess, if from the sounds of things, I like watched a few extra clips of it here after seeing the movie. It seems like Paradox has been tasked with monitoring the timelines, but he'd much prefer like pruning it because that means he's going to be watching these timelines decay for hundreds and thousands of years, which is going to get boring. He's the mercy killer as he deems himself. So he wants to speed up the process with the device to kind of like, basically prune a massive device to prune like full timelines. But timelines that have lost their anchor point. Now, the anchor point thing is the thing I wonder how that's going to kind of hold up. Where I think it works, but it does risk getting into that whole like Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse kind of thing. The across the Spider-Verse thing with the whole canon events. I think we simplified it here, which I think was a good call. I think here it's in a very, it's kind of has a meta context to it where after losing Logan, the Fox X-Men universe is destabilizing, which is kind of in tandem with the MCU if you look at it, where it's like we lose the linchpin character of that universe, and things become a little wobbly for a while unless you do something to kind of set things right. So we lost Logan. It's the peak and it's the high point of the Fox X-Men universe, and then we kind of go essentially by the end of this movie we salvage the best parts of the Fox universe, was the Deadpool and the Wolverine kind of side of things. And on the flip side, we lose Tony Stark, and then Phase 4 is the iffy era. Am I making any sense with that?
No, I mean, I see what you mean. I don't think. I mean, I think for Logan being the anchor point, it does kind of work metatextually that like Logan was such a peak point
Mm-hmm.
in the X-Men franchise, and after that, things kind of went downhill. Um, as for Iron Man, it's
Well,
like
I'm not saying that's literally what there's. I'm just saying that's kind of like in a tongue-in-cheek way. It's like maybe we're throwing a little bit of like, yeah, so Tony Stark might also be kind of the anchor point for the MCU.
which in light of what was revealed at San Diego Comic Con, it's like, it's like I don't feel like he was that big of a linchpin, but that's like a different conversation altogether in regards to
Yeah.
that.
But regardless, just focusing on the Logan side, like I'm just throwing that one out there as like maybe kind of a cheeky kind of comparison, but yeah, but yeah, so we lost. So I like the idea. Okay, so we've lost like the big breakout kind of like peak character, and we're very much centering on that for the plot. And Deadpool's very like upset that he's not the linchpin, which is very on brand.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with forks for hands. So now here's something I will say though. I do wish we kind of fleshed out just a wee, just not a lot, just a wee bit of what exactly Paradox wanted from Deadpool. Because the presumption is he wants Deadpool to be basically kind of a top tier TVA agent. Basically, he wants Deadpool to kill Marvel universes, which of course, very famously he does. He's done and he does very well. But we don't really say that though, and it feels like if we're going to be cheeky about everything else that he's doing, like in reference to like you might need some avenging, like you want to be in the MCU, we're going to put you in the MCU, buddy. Uh, like we literally have Deadpool in a really awesome moment. He headbutts the fourth wall, saying "F you, Fox, I'm going to Disneyland."
But it is kind of interesting that like in a way like Paradox like metatextually represents like the audience,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the audience that's like, oh, like Deadpool's cool, just put him in the MCU, like and screw or like boo these like Fox X-Men movies. And Deadpool is kind of like, and I think this movie kind of feels like a love letter or just an endear like like a movie of endearment towards the Fox X-Men movies.
Yeah, it's like you have to grow. If it hurts to grow, sometimes that's kind of the arc of the Fox X-Men films.
Yeah, and I think with the way Deadpool acts, it's like no, like I like my universe and all that stuff. It kind of feels it's interesting that like I don't know if Ryan Reynolds has this sorts of feelings, but I think there's sort of an interesting tension that Deadpool, and just his sensibilities kind of represents Ryan Reynolds. Like, hey, like Yeah, I like to be in the MCU, but I want to be me, and then kind of that like balance or whatever is I think kind of what underlines the film.
Well, it's two things based on what you just said there, Rohit. On one hand, it's we don't get the Deadpool movie without them screwing the pooch so hard on X-Men Origins Wolverine. So we need that trauma to grow, which is kind of what we say with B-15 at the end. It's that without you losing the X-Men, you don't save this universe.
Yeah.
And the flip side of it, you're absolutely right. That's it's basically I'll only do this if I can still maintain the character on my terms. So I think there's a lot of that in there. It has to be on his terms. So I was very psyched, and I predicted this, and I called it that we were going to face Deadpool with the big decision. And to me, I was so interested in this moment. I like how he played it. That Deadpool's offered a choice: the glory of the MCU, or protecting your friends. Like that would be at the cost of all your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like that we kind of face him with that choice. Of course, Deadpool is going to make the messy choice, which is basically I'm going to screw that guy and try fixing it in a messy way that's bound not to work, which is what Deadpool always does.
And it sounds like the strategy of the later Fox X-Men movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. For sure. Anyway, let's see. So, but you see what I'm saying though? It's kind of. I wish we kind of said exactly what he had planned for Deadpool. Right? Is it a little?
I
Is it a little
my,
vague?
my understanding was that he was just kind of like a person that was worthy enough to be part of the sacred timeline, and that was like metatextually, it's like Deadpool is a really successful character.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige and MCU want him in, and
Okay.
yeah, that's because he was like, "Oh, you're a special
Because
person."
I was wondering if there was maybe just like a specific job that he had for him. But you're right, though. He just wants to put with what he says. It does track with I just want to put you in the sacred, because he basically offers him the sacred timeline. So I guess that's literally what he meant. So that tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so let's see. So, oh, the new suit. I want to highlight this because I'm sure no one else is getting. It's like it's every time I bring up Batman '89, no one ever cares about this, but I'm gonna geek out about it.
Well,
So,
not just Batman '89, just really like burned the Bernard Schumacher movies as a whole, like their suit up sequences.
well, no. What I mean is like when I say Batman '89, I mean like everyone thinks I'm crazy when I say like, why does the symbol have bat feet? And everyone, I'm so shocked. Even Captain Logan, who's like the hugest '89 fan, it's like, oh, the bat feet. What are you talking about? Like, really? You don't know the little bat feet? Why are there little? The whole film was marketed on that symbol, not having like being the traditional Batman logo and not having little extra pieces around the bottom of the logo, and yet all over '89, we
Oh,
randomly gave him a little bat feet on the logo.
okay.
That
Oh, I
it
know.
always shocks me that no one else is ever bothered by that but me.
Okay, like as in that. That's hold on.
Keaton's costume in '89 is wrong compared to every bit of marketing for that film.
Oh, that's
Like literally, the poster for that movie doesn't say Batman. It's literally just that symbol, and you'll notice that symbol, traditional bat symbol.
oh man, that you
Anyway, so
on my brain, man. God dang.
really, you didn't notice that either?
Yeah, I think I've like seen. I've seen like I might have my head. It's been a while because I haven't looked. Okay, I see what you
It's
mean.
always been wrong
Oh man.
for over 30
Well,
years.
even then, like I'm looking at both. Here's the thing: both symbols for '89 and '92 don't look like the movie poster because, like, for the symbol in the
Look,
'89,
Returns is a lot closer though.
it's a lot closer. But if you look at it, it's like the '89 symbol is kind of more stretched out, whereas
Mm-hmm.
for the '90 for the Batman Return symbol, it's kind of more squished in, and it's kind of more like vertically spread out than horizontally
And
spread.
oddly, Batman Forever, until he gets the sonar suit, is actually the '89 logo.
Oh man!
Crazy, right?
So are you? Did you go on the '89 tangent because there's a you wanted to make a point of
Well, it's just because I'm so obsessed with the Deadpool movie. I'm obsessed with the suit and everything. So I'm always looking for like the little differences when they make the new Deadpool suits between the three movies. So Deadpool 2 essentially is the same suit, it's just the way we photograph the movie makes it look darker. And then, of course, when we charbroil, I mean, we have like the X Force, gray and gray and black suit. But basically you take the dead again. That's essentially still the same Deadpool one suit. So the point you have the Deadpool one suit, which I love and it's great, and then we have the MCU suit, which we have here, and this suit. I mean, I'm always I'm very much I'm a stubborn fanboy in many respects, but I love it, man. It looks great. It looks more comfortable too. I can imagine for Ryan Reynolds, just given the way they make it. It's a guess, just given how it like shoots in photographs for this movie, it looks like a lot more movable. But not that the original didn't, but basically you got to sense the original suit was tighter on him, you know.
Yeah, and
And
I think, and also just to add on to that, like I think it was the first one. It's still, and it kind of had a little bit more of a ketchup mustardy look, whereas this is just like the right shade of red, to where it's not too bright red to kind of be like the Flash color red.
yeah, yeah.
It's just slightly along the same hue as like Tom Holland's Spider-Man red color.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, again, they brightened the color so it would contrast even better, with the whole Deadpool Wolverine thing. So they made it a little bit more, slightly more primary, and so that's the thing. So you have a little more primary red, so it pops a little bit more, and it kind of fits the brighter color scheme of the MCU. That's the main reason.
Yeah.
And you'll notice the first thing I noticed when I saw the suit was, if you look around, the neck is very different. There's more black on the costume. If you look from the neck to like the under the like the pectorals of the chest, you have like basically this kind of like it's like the red is fastening over the black and not the other way around.
It's kind of similar design wise to like the Iron Man 3 like armor, where it's like the yellow, like the red is kind of like closing in on the yellow.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. And again, that's what I'm saying. Over in the Deadpool comics, like for example, the main thing they're drawing influence for, and again, I want to get a whole costume thing. I'm just going to bring them, so I'm going to cap it off here. Is that if you look at when they did Marvel Now is when that was like the initial kind of like they were kind of somewhat chasing the New 52, but when they basically kind of rebranding things a little bit, getting new creative teams on there, they kind of tweaked the costumes, and that's when Deadpool they first incorporated a little bit more black and just kind of a different pattern on the slightly different pattern on the costume. So we have that going on. We also incorporate a little bit more kind of gold or kind of brass on the costume, which basically signifies Wolverine. Less Wolverine, more of the TVA. We signify the TVA maybe in kind of a broader sense, a little bit of Wolverine with like the gold parts and like the buckles and the wrist gauntlets. And big one had this upgrade. I was so happy when I heard this was confirmed in the movie. When I saw it in the movie, they actually said the words versus like everyone speculating this. We gave him adamantium katanas.
Oh yeah,
This is so great.
that was cool.
I was like, yes, because here's the thing: if he doesn't have adamantium katanas, that means he can't fight Wolverine and keep the swords, which is always a thing where you want Deadpool to keep the weapons. I was kind of sad to see the guns go, but at least we have them in the first act and in the third act, which fits.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's kind of harkening back to the first Deadpool movie, where the first Deadpool movie, budgetarily, they could not give him all those guns. Like he was going to have a lot of guns in the third act, but that's why he forgets the ammo bag, Rohit, because in the script of the first Deadpool movie, there was going to be a big gun battle, but they did not have the budget for that.
No, I know the little factoid. I think also like Deadpool. I think it's just much cooler to see him like play around with katanas than just using guns, because it's not like Deadpool like uses guns in a very cool way, like say Bullseye or whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But because I think back to like one of the more memorable moments from Deadpool 2 is like when he like spins his katanas around, and then he has a bunch of holes. I think just like there's a lot more opportunities for visual gags and just overall physical humor with like Deadpool utilizing katanas than just kind of him using guns, because at least with katanas it's like you're kind of more closer quarters, so you have ability to do a lot more like fun Charlie Chaplin, Jackie Chan like hijinks and antics.
Well, my favorite detail is that we found a way, kind of like the Deadpool video game kind of had this too, where they have like the Deadpool symbol built into the sword. So we did that here too with the adamantium katanas, which makes them kind of the best swords. Also, the one here's why I'm fixating on the guns, just because we did them really cool in this movie, where we added like the whole smile, wait for the flash at the end of the barrel, which is just perfect.
Oh yeah, that's really well done.
That's what I mean. Between that and then we give him the gold Desert Eagles, and he had Desert Eagles in the first Deadpool movie, so that's why that's kind of significant. So we're kind of bringing it back. So it's anyway. Okay, so point being, Deadpool he breaks Paradox's nose. He takes the temp pad. We have the whole opening action sequence, and then Deadpool's clunky solution is okay. I'm just going to pull a Wolverine from the other universe, so he can de facto kind of restabilize my universe. So we have the Back to the Future homage with "Back in Time."
Oh man, the whole montage of
Yes.
Deadpool visiting all the Warriors is amazing.
Now, I was hyped up to me that we would see a lot of Wolverines early in the movie. I did not know how or when or like in what way, but this was amazing.
Like you come into one universe, and
Mm-hmm.
the first universe he just sees like Logan in a club, and he pops down, and it's like comic book accurate size.
Yes.
Wolverine, and it's like, oh my god. And then they go to the Age of Apocalypse universe, and he's completely comic accurate. Then you go to like him wearing the brown, the tan and yellow outfit, and it's like, oh my god, this is just like, you see him the patch out. Oh my god. Do you remember when the trailer came out for this movie, and then we saw the back of like what appeared to be Patch, and everyone was speculating like, "Oh, this is where they might get Daniel Radcliffe or Taron Egerton or blah blah blah," and it was Hugh Jackman, and the actual actor who played Wolverine that wasn't Hugh Jackman was in a scene that was like just complete. Well, I knew that he was going to be the movie, which kind of sucks on my part because it's kind of leaked or scooped, but man, the way Deadpool saw Calvary was fantastic. Like the way like the shots was like, I feel like if you didn't know like how Henry Cavill looks, like you was like, all right, who's this big burly dude? And then he turns around and it's like, and I have to say, he turns around and it's just Henry Cavill's Wolverine. And I have to say, like Henry Cavill's Wolverine look is not bad, half bad.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, one, it's just it's great to see him. Like, here's that. I wasn't putting a lot of stock in. I just know that there's a chance of Henry Cavill Wolverine because it was just everyone's been theorizing like he'd be the guy DC kicked him to the curb. Like a lot of people have been saying him for Wolverine. I could see potentially it could happen, but I was completely shocked. Oh my god, they actually got him, and he looks amazing. And he's cigar chomping Wolverine with the motorcycle, and he's basically dressed like
Like
the traditional
and the
Wolverine, and just like
undershirt,
what?
and with the undershirt and all that stuff, he kind of looks like how Wolverine looked in like the mansion in X Men 2.
Yes, yes, Jacob. Yes, it's Power of Love. I misspoke. I said Back in Time. Yes, it's Power of Love. The point being, it's a Back to the Future song, and it's great. It's a great choice. All right, let's see. But yeah, so I'm sorry. So run down the list there. So again, we have accurate comic height Wolverine. We have Cavalrine, which is a high point. Patch, and here's the thing. Honestly, I thought if you were going to see Cavill, I thought just based on like the brief glimpse we saw the trailer, I thought that was going to be Cavill Wolverine.
Oh, that's Patch.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think I could see that because it's like Patch is like kind of like a well dressed guy and like
Yeah.
a nice, and also it kind of like
So when I didn't see him, that's why I was surprised. Like, oh my god, we put him as the other guy.
oh man,
Let me talk about my favorite one. Here's my favorite one. Okay, John Byrne Wolverine, because we had like the comic cover homage with wait, didn't you fight the Hulk in this outfit? We pop the claws, we see the reflection, and then the Hulk just like you dull creature just like hits him right across and basically kills him like Logan because he pins him against like a tree.
oh, I didn't even get that. That's a good callback. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love that when he's talking to the corpse, he basically kind of pins him on the log too, which is even better.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wish though we got to see like I now I
You
want
wanted the first appearance Wolverine costume, didn't you?
no I wanted to see the John Byrne outfit with the cowl. So
Well, that's the thing that we need to build. We need to earn the cowl later. That's why. Otherwise, they would have shown it.
No. That's why I'm kind of hoping in Secret Wars we get to see him in the John Burt outfit with the cowl, because that would be just straight like fire.
Yeah, remember, we almost got that in main line. Remember, that was the costume we were gonna get had he suited up after the Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that deleted scene at the end,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, but yes, I love that because again, that's my favorite because it takes me back to where I was introduced to Deadpool, the Hulk versus Wolverine short. So that was very meaningful for me to see those three in there. Plus, that is Mark Ruffalo Hulk, and I know it has to be Mark Ruffalo Hulk because Sean Levy worked with Mark Ruffalo and Ryan Reynolds in the Adam Project, so I think that was a favor he did for him. I think he came back for him for that brief cameo.
No, yeah, and actually, the one Wolverine costume that would have been cool to see, if not would be either the Uncanny X Force outfit or the X Force outfit that he has, which is kind of the little black, but like similar to the color scheme of like the Deadpool outfit at the end,
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool 2, or the orange and blue outfit from X-Men Evolution. That would have been
Oh
cool.
wow, yeah. Let's see. So just to make sure we didn't miss anything there. Old Man Logan. So basically, the very Clint Eastwood, very traditional Old Man Logan Wolverine, the one who
Mhm.
lived. Let's see. Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with the giant hair. Which, by the way, they made the toy out of. Like when X2 came out, that was the big toy that was like going around a lot of the time, like the weird kind of like long haired Wolverine in the black leather. And also uncanny Wolverine, the one from Uncanny 251, where he's like he's on the big crucified X.
I love like Deadpool just kind of like plopping down on like a bunch of red skulls, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
God, that whole sequence, that I think was something that's like, okay, we have Hugh Jackman, we're gonna do comic actor Wolverine. It's in the multiverse. Let's just do a bunch of them.
Yeah, just wonderful. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Romello Malone has some comments here. Henry Cavill did a good job, but he's still Superman to me. Same with Michael Keaton. He's a great Vulture, but he's still Batman to me. I mean, look, do I look? Do I necessarily want Henry Cavill as Wolverine? I mean, look, he's a very competent actor. I think he can pull it off if he wanted to. I think he could. I think this is a more fun one-off. I don't think he's actually going to be playing Wolverine. I think it's basically like the John Krasinski thing from Multiverse of Madness. I'm pretty sure it's kind of what we're doing there. Um, but yeah, I mean, still, it was a wonderful surprise. I mean, if anything, he might pop in another cameo down the line. But I love the fact that we called out DC though. I thought that was so funny. We're gonna treat you so much better than those guys from up the street.
And I love he did the arm like reloading thing before he like.
Yeah, it's great. Let's see, and also Mello says, I really wish we saw Wolverine fight the Hulk in this scene. Hope it pays off later in the MC. I mean, look again. I think we were lucky to get what we got, and we even had like him like slapped. We at least saw the Hulk briefly when he slapped Deadpool aside. I don't know. I think that's. I mean, that's kind of a taste of Hulk versus. It's something.
I think it's like there's so much like there's always a thing. It's like,
You know what I really wanted though. I mean, I knew it was never going to happen because of the rights issue, but you know what I wanted?
what?
Hulk. I wanted Deadpool and Wolverine fighting the Ang Lee Hulk in the void.
Oh man, and especially if it's like still the CGI quality of the 2000.
Exactly. That's what my here's the thing. That was my theory. If we were ever going to get the Hulk, that would have been the way we would have gotten him and been able to do actually a full on like fight with the Hulk. But getting the actual, like getting like a brief glimpse of like traditional like Hulk by Mark Ruffalo is in that montage. It was like, yeah, that's it's still pretty good though.
Honestly, if he was a good sport about it, Edward Norton as like the 2008 version of the Hulk would be pretty funny.
I mean, no, he wouldn't have done that.
That's why I'm saying if he was a good sport. Like I feel like just the kind of the oddness of it. I think like in all honesty, if they didn't for a reason decide to have Cassandra Nova be like the main villain or ringleader of like the Void, I wonder if they would have gotten like Eric Bana to play like the Maestro or whatever, because that's like such
Oh wow.
yeah, because it's like I think with Cassandra Nova, it's like, oh, this is like this is basically a love letter, an ode to the X Men franchise. Let's get like a unique X Men villain to for like a one off thing. So
All right, let's see. Anyway, so point B, we do this whole montage, and then we end up with our buddy movie pairing with Deadpool and the worst Wolverine in the comic accurate suit. So, he's, they get stranded in the void, slash, the wasteland. Wolverine's not happy about it, which leads to very awesome, very long-awaited fight, between the two of them in the ruins of the Fox X-Men universe.
yeah, and there's like a few cool Easter eggs. There's like the Thor helmet, the classic Thor helmet, and then there's the like I think it's not even the traditional triangular shield from like the old school for World War II days. It looks like the shield that like Cap had before he turned into Hydra Cap or whatever.
Hmm.
That was a cool few Easter eggs.
I wonder if the Thanos copter made the cut because that was in Loki season 1. I wonder if that's like some of that's still in there.
I didn't notice it when I in my first.
Neither did I. I was looking for it, but then again, there's a lot in there. I love that we had the Fantastic Car as one of the vehicles, like the comics Fantastic Car too. That was even better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have look. We don't want to just like spell out the obvious here, but the fight between them was awesome. Like Deadpool's getting stabbed like crazy, and he's getting to shoot the crap out of Wolverine. They're impaling each other. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, we have this great again. This is so basically Hugh Jackman always said like the moment after he announced his retirement like a few days before Deadpool came out, and that's when he instantly was filled with regret, just like oh no, it would be the perfect buddy movie, and I've killed it. I've killed the chances of it. But just basically we're actually able to see that in the banter between the two of them, and just like Wolverine hates Deadpool, but Deadpool loves him even if he doesn't like him.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to compare the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. Not to kind of like make this like, oh, this is better than the other dynamic, but like I think back to the dynamic between like Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and like Josh Brolin, Cable, and their chemistry was interesting, but it felt a little bit more not as buddy or like it was antagonistic, but not always the fun type of antagonism. Whereas for like for this, I would say this, it's like I remember what Hugh Jackman said when he watched Deadpool. It's like, oh, we could do like a 48 hours like type movie. And when I watched 48 hours the first time like a few years ago, and when it starts out like the beginning of that dynamic between Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte's characters was very similar to the dynamic between Josh Brolin's Cable and Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. And that was the kind of the entire dynamic. Whereas for Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, their dynamic is more to the middle, if not the end of that dynamic in the movie, where their antagonism is a little bit more like fun and a little bit more like it. Not to say that like the dynamic between Cable and Deadpool wasn't fun, but there's just something to Reynolds and Jackman. They just know how to click and bicker in a way that it's just I could watch an extended half an hour to an hour of just them like bickering at each other in the car or whatever.
Here's what I love. This is always kind of I don't think they intended they predicted Wolverine at the end of this, but the Deadpool movie, going back to it, this is always like the precursor kind of thing where pairing Deadpool with Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead was, and I brought this up way back when I did my like little mini like brief review of the first Deadpool movies. That it's them kind of testing the waters for the dynamics they'd like to do if they were to get another bite at the apple. Like this is like Colossus and Negasonic is kind of like the precursor for Cable and Domino.
Mhm.
And in that respect, we kind of go. Wolverine is kind of like the end point on that spectrum. There, he's very much like in terms of who you pair Deadpool with, as far as the straight man goes. As far as like kind of the no nonsense X-Men slash just kind of X character who's very very stern and just that is very kind of antagonistic or kind of a reluctant kind of pairing with them. But there is friendship there, and there's ultimately friendship there, and that's with all three of these men, and ultimately Wolverine being kind of the best kind of polar opposite kind of example there. And you got to remember, he and Wolverine they're essentially blood brothers with how that works. They're very linked to each other. They have healing factors. They can, as we see in the three scenes, they really go at it for three fights. All of that, each act has a kind of a Deadpool Wolverine fight. The third one, they're very much on the same side, but Act One, we're in the wasteland. Two, we're in the Honda, and then three, we're back home.
Yeah, and I think what I really appreciate for the dynamic between So along those lines, it's like they're both in up Weapon X. They're also both Canadian, all that stuff. What I really appreciated for Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, their dynamic in this is the sense that like Wolverine, and especially when he gets, especially in that scene in the car where he just like when he finds out about Deadpool lying to him about
About
it.
the educated wish.
Yeah, man, when Hugh Jackman just went in on Deadpool, it's like I think back to like how like Cable kind of just did, or just like the way Cable went after Deadpool. It's like, oh, he's just kind of like an old stodgy dude that would have criticisms about like a weird, weirdo kid that is Deadpool. But when Hugh Jackman Wolverine just went after Deadpool the way he did, it's like, oh, you felt bad for Deadpool in that scene.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that is like of course you're familiar with in real life. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, they have kind of a playful kind of like rivalry, kind of like Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon have.
Yeah.
So in that respect, that's very much like Ryan Reynolds. He kind of gives a lot towards Hugh Jackman. He's very merciless about his mocking of Hugh Jackman. So this is like Hugh Jackman's justice. This is him getting them back after all that time. And all that is very fueled by Ryan Reynolds being so irritated that Hugh Jackman like hung up the claws. So this is just kind of like this is wonderful karmic justice, but.
Well,
Still, though, he really does hurt Deadpool's feelings.
But not only that, but like, man, Hugh Jackman, when he's like angry at a person, he really knows how to like go full range. I think the like how angry he was in the car with like X-23, how angry he was when he played the dad in Prisoners. It's like Hugh Jackman when he's like enraged, it's like it's a visceral level of rage. That's like there's like it's increased yelling, but just like it feels like it's just coming out of his full chest. And man, it's like you can't save the world. You couldn't even save a relationship with a stripper. And then like the line is like, what do you have to say, mouth? And it's like, man, that's like it feels the most Wolverine that I like that scene was the most Wolverine comic accurate thing I've seen of Hugh Jackman in dialogue, because usually for like in prior X-Men movies, it's like he'll be kind of just like a little smart alecky and slick about it, and just will have a like one liner to it. But this was just like it was the closest to like his performance in Logan, but it just was like, oh, this is just a dude that's just tired of his shit and just laid it down.
Well, yeah, it's like when he's yelling at Laura in the car in Logan, but this is very it's again, it's just a little bit more kind of again starts off comedic, but then it just kind of gets really like again there's a sympathy for Deadpool there, and again Deadpool making his plea there again. Deadpool isn't like horrifically lying. He's not entirely lying to. It's an educated wish, like you said, where it's like, look, if anyone's going to be able to fix this, it would be the TVA, but he doesn't know that for a fact. But Logan, when he gets into his berserker kind of rage, I guess say anything to get him to stop. So you can't blame Deadpool necessarily for doing what he did, and he is desperate to save his friends. And this Logan's already despondent. He's given up on everything else. There's really no harm in just getting him to do something versus like drinking himself silly in a bar. But that said, though, again, I just love, like, as Jacob pointed out there, I'm going to fight you now. The way he says it all quietly, is very upset about this, and then he punches him, and they have this hysterical fight in the Honda, which amazingly, this is how you do product placement, kids. We would do right by the Honda. It's just the fact that this car is indestructible. Like, two guys with healing factors are going at it all day to the point where Wolverine loses his sleeves in the fight, which is a great rationale for how he loses. He gets the traditional Wolverine costume. It's great.
I appreciated also the way that the scene played out. It became very much a like when the camera pans out to the coach and you just kind of hear the rumbling and the car shaking. It's like, oh, this plays out in a completely different other way, which I kind of appreciate on a unique level.
Oh yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see. So let's talk about our bad guy a little bit here. So we're in the void. We're in the wasteland, which predominantly is Fox, basically Fox Marvel stuff, which includes the X-Men, but also some non-X-Men stuff. So we have Pyro, Toad, and Sabretooth, in which we have like the big epic Wolverine versus Sabretooth fight, which is then cut short by the cutting off of Sabretooth's head.
That was great. Just
yeah.
It wasn't a long extended fight. He like Wolverine, has been down the block and just. I think it would have been cool to honestly. I think it would have been cool to see like that Sabretooth in his like comic book accurate look. Especially with Hugh Jackman, his classic Wolverine look. But for what it was, I think it worked. Just on the community level.
Oh yeah. Let's see so let's talk about the big reveal. And I knew where this was going, and I know the origin of this. Okay, so we showed Deadpool as a lot of reference for Captain America, which he does.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear a familiar voice, and you'll notice the sleeves are colored red and blue. And we have this great reveal that, oh my God, it's seemingly Captain America, but in reality that is Chris Evans, but that is Johnny Storm. that is a very world weary Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four movies. So this is just great. So of course this is very much him showing up because of the cameo in Free Guy, which I loved, and I love that we brought him back here even more so. Now the origin of this, Rohit, I'm sure you know about this. In Deadpool 2, when they were auditioning X-Force, it was they didn't shoot this. They didn't technically reach out to Chris Evans, but the plan was to have the Human Torch show up and audition for X-Force and not get it.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
That's where they got the idea for the Human Torch, and then they realized, well, they put him in Free Guy. Let's see what he says. Let's call him and see what he says. And Chris Evans is a very nice man. He's he's friendly with him, and was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And it was like, so long as he's not playing Captain America yet, he wants to give that time and reverence before he eventually comes back in Secret Wars. I'm sure, but yeah, that's yeah. That's how we got him, and it's hilarious how graphically we kill him.
Oh yeah, like it is, and it's like very, and like the CGI of it looks kind of like how like you see like CGI from the early to mid 2000s. Like this, it's like something like what happened to the Human Torch was like this could have been a scene straight out of Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah, I love the fact. I really do. Ultimately, with the post-credit scene, I love that we this thing where Deadpool keeps getting blamed for killing the Human Torch. Oh, yeah. When in reality, even in the scene, we see Deadpool's ratting him out. Absolutely, there's no way around that. But still, he did say a lot of that though. Deadpool then ran wild with it, but we reveal, well, maybe he didn't run as wild as you might think.
I just love it. It's just basically for the post-credit scene, it's just like, all right, Chris Evans, just talk like a typical Bostonian.
And of course, just the fun with that being, it's like it's Captain America is very much a language, compared to
I love, in regards to Human Torch, I love like he's like flaming on and just doing his stuff, and then he shoots his pyro, and Pyro just like, oh.
He absorbs it all.
The way he fell was just so comedically.
I thought we were just going to kill him off then and there. I was so impressed that he was actually, oh my god, he's still alive. Wow.
After the fall, yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, so Cassandra Nova, so she's the iffy part of the film. But here's the thing: it's iffy, but not a deal breaker. It's kind of pre-established in the. Well, sorry, let me put it this way: I'm iffy on her because she's not pre-established and she's a little overpowered. But you look at the Deadpool movies. I mean, honestly, Deadpool is a series and as a character, but even just with the movies themselves, Deadpool, the movies never have an overdeveloped foe, and that's kind of the point. Like Francis is very much, he's the sadistic torturer. Not much there. We just made him British. That's the only layer that we added to that guy. Deadpool 2, it's very much, Cable is just kind of the antagonist. He's not really the bad guy. Russell's kind of the bad guy, but he's a bad guy in the making. Juggernaut's the closest thing we have to a bad guy, but he's not the guy leading the charge. So Deadpool's not really about having like full on like super developed villains. They very much just kind of fill a need in the plot for him to go up against. And I think of the three movies though, she is kind of the weakest link. She's not bad, but it just feels like we just need someone who we have kind of a runner with Professor X gags in the in the Deadpool movie, so it feels like this is yet another payoff to that. We also had relatives of Professor X with the Juggernaut in 2. So we kind of keep that going as to why Cassandra Nova of all characters. So I get that. And she is faithfully adapted, I would say, because she does her the way her power works is exactly the way it works in the comics. It's the creepy finger effect and everything. So they adapted her flawlessly. It's just Cassandra Nova is like she's an out of left field, and Professor X had like a twin in the womb,
Yeah.
and
But it makes sense though for how she out of all the characters to end up in the void, like a evil twin that's not even that's kind of like this sentient organism biovirus or whatever it was in the comics. It makes sense as Charles could have had an evil twin, and that could have changed the whole trajectory of things. But TV obviously, pruned her, and that led to sort of the whatever the status quo it was for the X-Men.
I mean, that's the thing. Here's the tricky part, right? You're absolutely right in that. Again, the idea she was pruned very much like Sylvie was about to be pruned. That's essentially what the idea. It's kind of what the idea is there, but more so, it's the fact that why evil Professor X twin? Well, it's because that's what we hyped up at the end of X-Men 3 with Professor X had a twin. That's how he basically reconstituted his body.
Was he had a dead twin? I thought he just possessed a random body.
I'm pretty sure it was mind you, again, it was very vague the way they explained it. That they didn't really explain that movie. There was another Professor X body. I think the idea is there was a twin and he was like comatose. I think that's what I think that's what it was supposed to be. All we know is that he came back because there was another body that I believe was in relation to him. I think that's how the post-credit scene for X3 went. But it's been a while, and it was very ill-defined. Didn't make really a lot of sense. So I think that's what. I think in some sense that's kind of what they were going for. But I think primarily it's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think with it's kind of the thing where it's
But do you think she's overpowered? Do you think it's a little too easy with her?
You think? I don't think she's overpowered. I think she's.
I mean, look, every time they come at her, it's just like, oh, put you there, and just I'm gonna rip the skin off of Johnny Storm. Come on, it's a little overpowered.
Well, I mean, if she's the twin of Professor X is one of the most powerful mutants on the planet. So
yeah,
it would be kind of good, because here's the thing, the fact that the X-Men movies go out of their way to neutralize Charles, because if he was active, he would have ended the movie in 5 minutes. So having Cassandra Nova be a bad guy, and this is here's the thing, I think the appeal for Cassandra Nova in this movie is we're doing multiverse of variants, and obviously Cassandra Nova is not a variant of Charles Xavier, but it's kind of playing around with that idea. And I think for you who watch Loki, it's Cassandra Nova is kind of like the Sylvie, so there's that fun multiverse, ultra realities, what if scenarios that come into play.
Yeah.
And the fact that she, is able to walk on her 2 feet, and her look is very similar to the look she has in the comics with like the long, brown jacket and all that stuff.
Basically, she's right off the page, just she's younger. It's their only difference.
Yeah, she basically could have been like contemporaries with James McAvoy, Professor X.
Admittedly, it's a bit of ageism in Hollywood, if we're being frank, but it's
Yeah.
a little bit, just a little bit. Anyway.
Oh man, would this movie have improved in your view if it was Helen Mirren as Cassandra Nova?
I gotta admit that would be really awesome if they get Helen Mirren as Cassandra Nova. But I don't. I think it's just here's the thing: the way the movie is structured with Cassandra Nova. The issue I have is not that we have Cassandra Nova; it's the fact that we kind of bring her back in the third act. That's what kind of bothers me. Is the fact that we bring her back only so we can have a threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, like having her in the void, doing all of her void stuff. That's one thing. I love the scene where Wolverine, she goes inside his head, and then he kind of the fact that she is potentially dying there, and he says no, let her. It doesn't matter. She's going to kill us in a second there because Charles would want to save her. Like that's really good acting on Hugh Jackman's part. He's acting the heck out of that scene. That pays off. A lot of Wolverine's arc and kind of where he started to where he kind of has gone in the X-Men stuff. Like that's a great scene. That's a good payoff for her. And the fact she comes around, like lets him go home. It's like all that's great, but we don't really need more from her. That's the problem. And then we're just going to kill her anyway. It's like we diffused like a really good ending for that character. I don't know.
I think,
and it doesn't kill the movie because we need like tension, but it just goes back to what I was saying, where the Deadpool villains don't really, they're very plotty.
I see what you mean. I think because the thing is, if we didn't have like Cassandra Nova at the end, then it's like there's really not much of an issue for. Like, it's not as exciting for.
Yeah, we killed Paradox in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it would have been interesting if maybe like not that the characters would be confused, but Cassandra Nova would be in the role that Paradox was in.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know that she was like Cassandra Nova, a variant of Charles Xavier or whatever, till like maybe halfway through the movie. Because think of the fact that like all the TVA agents are like multiverse variants of people in the multiverse, so it kind of makes sense under like falling on the logic of Loki, and also just the fact that like you have like a person who finds out that or is basically like a telepathic mutant and has the resource of TVA, that makes her even a more dangerous threat.
Yeah, maybe.
Or you could have had it where it's like she takes over, like maybe she was about to be pruned, but like uses her psychic power to like take some like TVA resources, and I just kind of use that to like run the void from her angle.
I mean, honestly, what I think in part it might have been. In part, it sounds like there was going to be more connective tissue with Kang Dynasty from one of the initial drafts of this film. And that does make me wonder if, because again, we do reference the events of Loki season 2 in this movie. But you kind of have to. And we do remember with Loki season 2, we left things off with Renslayer. She's in the void. She's with Alioth, even like kind of buddying up to Alioth. And I have to wonder if there's like a version of this film where Renslayer may be running the void, and that's why we have Alioth in this movie.
Well, I remember there was initial like rumors or speculation that like Loki, Sylvie, or even like Mobius was going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, yeah, I remember that too. Like the whole like Mobius being like seemingly a deadlock for it, But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I have to wonder like how much of that might have been. Like, I like that it doesn't feel like we're really missing that. I'm not saying it's like it's suffering for missing that. It's just given the fact we have B-15 in this movie, and we definitely have the TVA in there. It does make you wonder because we know why Loki's not in here, because Loki literally has his hands full with the multiverse right now.
Yeah, like we don't see like OB or even like Casey,
Yeah. But anyway, that's just food for thought. It just makes me, just given the fact we have Alioth kind of feeding and everything, it does make me wonder if Renslayer might have had like an actual role, at least to some capacity, running the void, perhaps. But I don't know. I don't know if that was a decision based on like, okay, we don't want to be too linked to Loki. versus just like we want something that's going to feel very X-Men, so we're going to make it Cassandra Nova. I don't know. And my point being, Cassandra Nova, per the tradition of these Deadpool movies, doesn't need to be super developed, and it's shown she doesn't need to be super developed, and it's okay.
Mhm.
All right, so so we have the Honda fight and everything. We should also mention the Resistance. So after the Honda fight, Deadpool just like tied up in the seatbelt, which is very funny visual. We reveal the Fox Resistance, or I guess more so like technically one of these characters is not a Fox character, but you know what I mean, like the Void Resistance,
the Marvel Legacy Resistance.
There you go, the Marvel Legacy Resistance. So we reveal Blade. I kind of called Blade. I called that Blade would probably my hope of hopes is that Hannibal King would show up as a Deadpool variant. That was my hope. But still, Blade made the most sense though, given the history. We do not have Deadpool without Blade 3, without that movie. That because David S. Goyer directed Ryan Reynolds to play the character like Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. So we owe a lot to Blade. So I think it's very nice and full circle that Blade does show up. And apparently, Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes did not get along when they were making the original Blade 3. So it's kind of nice they mended fences a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a kind of question. To my memory, Deadpool doesn't have his mask off when Blade's in the same scene as him, right?
That's true. Yeah, he's wearing the mask.
Okay, because my thinking is like, even though Ryan, maybe they're not like cool with each other, because if they're not still cool with each other.
Oh, you're saying that maybe Ryan Reynolds isn't on the set during that?
Yeah, he's like ADR or whatever.
I mean, look, it is possible, but from what I understand, now mind you, this is like outdated. This might be outdated information, or things might have changed for him. Ryan Reynolds for a while was hinting that this might be his last Deadpool movie, which always hints at like him in the suit, because like similar to Hugh Jackman, he's kind of he's getting up there comparatively. I mean, again, he's a young man, but he's comparatively getting up there. But they're doing all the stunts and everything, because Ryan Reynolds was very active in the suit, like only during like the actual like a guy doing parkour in the first Deadpool movie. That's not Ryan Reynolds. Or we had the dance scene in this movie, for example. Like certain things Ryan Reynolds can't do in the suit. So with that logic, the idea is like if Ryan Reynolds ever did like kind of want to not physically play Deadpool, he could always just do the voiceover. So it's possible, and this could be an example of just kind of like ushering that sort of thing in a little bit. Like it's unclear. But you're right. I mean, they absolutely could have done that if it was a real big deal. But it sounds like, I mean, Wesley Snipes, I think the way he's like kind of talked about is like he's kind of cool with them. He's just like it's a lot of times passed. Wesley Snipes, he went. I think he either fled the country from tax evasion, or like did he go to prison for a while? Do you remember?
I don't know if he went to prison per se. I just know he had like some significant issues with the IRS.
I know he was fleeing from the IRS. I forget if they ever caught him early. I know he solved it. Clearly, he solved it. So But anyway, point being, Wesley Snipes, I think he's mellowed out in the years that have gone by. Like him doing like Coming to America 2 and everything. So it's like I don't know.
The line that it will be funny or even funnier to bring about how Blade turns out. There's one Blade. Will only ever be one Blade.
And I love Deadpool's like look to camera. It's great. But by the way, just with that, we should talk about that. We have some really great scathing MCU kind of knocks in this movie.
We're joining the MCU at a low point, and it's like
what are the best ones?
I don't know, man. It's like it's a funny line, but in light of what happened at San Diego Comic-Con, it's like, man, I'm kind of curious. Like, I don't think we were that, but I don't want to get into too much of the San Diego Comic-Con stuff, but right. It is a fun.
It's just the fact that the whole they're doing a movie about the multiverse that clearly, like a lot of people said, and I would agree with it. This movie did mainly with that montage of all the variants of Wolverine. This movie did everything Doctor Strange 2 was everyone hoped Doctor Strange 2 would do.
See, and I kind of feel like here's the thing though. Multiverse of Madness never really advertised itself as like the movie with like with like cameos and or like
Well, I
maybe
know. I'm just saying, is with the title, that's what everyone speculates or what everyone hoped for.
I get that, but you kind of need to like. I think when people talk about the multiverse and like the potential that it comes, I get that like, oh, it'd be cool to have this character show up and a cameo, whatever. But ultimately, the multiverse should be a tool to explore interesting ideas like nature versus nurture, free will versus destiny, and like sense of identity and all that stuff. And the cameos, all that, they're great, but it should be an icing on the cake. And I think for both Multiverse Madness and maybe I'm might be the only one. I think especially for Deadpool Wolverine, the multiverse is utilized not just in my view to like showcase, oh, here's cool stuff in like 5 different variants, or whatever. But it's like, hey, this like how does a person feel wanting to matter in the grand scheme of things? Like when you don't feel like you have the capabilities to save your own universe or whatever, and all that stuff. And I think for the amount of fan service there was in this movie, it wasn't too much, and it wasn't like too corny.
It was well balanced.
It wasn't like they literally stopped the camera and then just kind of like because I think the way they had the camera show up, it wasn't like the thing. And even though I like No Way, even though No Way is one of my favorite MCU movies, I will say that like when Andrew and Toby show up, the way that they're directed, it's like there's just a weird pause that like it's directed in the way that they anticipate like crowd reactions to their appearances, and then when you watch it at home, it's like why is there just like this stillness or whatever? Whereas when like the cameos, the like the characters that we remember when they come in, there's not as like, oh, we need to just stop and let the audience react. There is a reaction, but like it's like the pacing doesn't suffer because of it, or it just doesn't feel like you're trying to create a theater reaction.
Right. Well, that's another thing too. One of the things I anticipated with this movie is that there would be an element of it's Deadpool kind of taking kind of making fun of No Way Home to some degree, with just kind of the returns and just having like if I'm saying it's Deadpool potentially in kind of a No Way Home situation in dealing with the multiverse. I think let me put it this way: if you take the movie in comparison, it's less multiverse of madness. It's closer to a No Way Home because we're bringing in like a
Or as some people have made comparisons of, it's like it's the better version of the Flash.
well, but sure that's probably that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's see. So we have Blade. We have Elektra, who's not upset about the dead Daredevil.
Oh man, that I
Little Bennifer gag
and
there.
then we have freaking Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Okay, so I was very happy to see Channing Tatum as game because I love this. I love the meta contextual element of this so much. I love the fact that it's like he was the essentially he was the less successful version until now of Ryan Reynolds trying to get the Deadpool movie made. Like he was promised Gambit. He wanted that Gambit movie made. He put in the research. He really wanted this, and we gave it to him. And this is what I'm saying. I predict. Here's the thing. I I thought if there was a chance of it happening, it would be through this because he's in Free Guy. We had Channing Tatum in Free Guy, and that was the first thought I had in Free Guy. Oh man, maybe in a Deadpool movie at some point we could get him as in Deadpool 3 we could get him as Gambit, but I didn't. I didn't. I didn't bet on anything, so I was sincerely surprised when he showed. Like, oh my god, he's there, and he's in the costume and everything. He's got the accent that Deadpool's mocking mercilessly. It's wonderful.
He's what people wish the Nicolas Cage Superman cameo was in the Flash.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, we actually did it.
Oh man, his costume is just so comic booky. It's fun, and it's like just the lines he said, just so out of pocket, but they're so out of pocket in such a fun way.
Yep. Let's see. Okay, a big one though, the pathos filled one. X-23. Now this is great. So this is presumably the actual like grown up X-23 that we saw in Logan. That's presumably the case here.
Mm-hmm.
And just this is I love that she's the one who's able to get Wolverine to open up, and there's not that close bond, but that's kind of what she's used to from the Logan movie. And we get the big explanation to why he wears the costume, and I thought it was a really nice explanation. I wonder if you had this too. Did you theorize the reason he was the worst Wolverine was that he did the traditional Old Man Logan backstory, that he actually killed the X-Men by mistake? Did you think that was what was going to happen?
I was thinking that because then it would have been, because especially it's an R-rated movie, it would have made his drinking like make as much. I mean,
Yeah.
What they did, I wonder if they maybe didn't want to do that because
I have a theory as to why they didn't do it.
What?
Mind you, I could be reading into this. I think the reason they didn't do it is because in the variants that we saw a traditional Old Man Logan, and we might be suggesting that, well, that Old Man Logan probably actually did do that.
Also, actually, there's another metatextual reason for why the way he's depressed about what happened to the X-Men.
There's no way to bounce back from, is what you're saying.
No. As in that Wolverine leaving the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
The X-Men get killed off is an allegorical to like Wolverine's presence being gone for the X-Men. And
there
the
you go.
Yeah,
that's good, Rohith. That's really good, actually. I like it. But yeah, I love that. It's a thing where I looked at it more of a surface. And here's the thing: I think you're absolutely right. I'm saying I wasn't smart enough to put those pieces together. I just looked at it as like, okay, he's very much. Wolverine's always been a loner, and that's very much kind of like feeding into the whole like familial kind of thing we're going towards by the end of the movie, where he needed to.
Also, I think there's you kind of feel in both situations like you feel crappy. The thing is, it's like for Old Man Logan, he genuinely thought that they were all the villains, and he was trying to go out of this like benevolent. Like he was going. He killed all these he killed all the X-Men under the illusion.
Yeah,
he was doing benevolent reasons.
But it's tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic. Whereas this, he's made out to be a pathetic loser. He went out to get drunk at a bar. And just left
because he wasn't a team player. Because basically, it's like taking Wolverine's like it's kind of neat that you think about it this way. It's Wolverine is ego. It's the ego of like I'm better than all this. It's like what if Wolverine he never really came around? Like, what if he never like stuck around and he just showed up there as a favorite of Charles, and then he just kind of he never took it seriously.
Well, think of how like when Wolverine shows up in the X-Mansion in the first X-Men movie, he's just like giving shit to like the X-Men and giving Charles the nickname of Wheels.
What do they call you, Wheels?
Yeah, like imagine if that was that Wolverine.
Yeah,
like, from the entire run, like.
But yeah, that's the thing. Is like, what if you took that Wolverine, then you have him feel tremendously guilty after everyone gets killed.
But also, it's kind of, in a way, a metatextual criticism of the X-Men, the Fox X-Men movies, because what is one of the biggest criticisms of the Fox X-Men movies?
They weren't wearing the costumes.
Yeah, they weren't proud to be superheroes. So, like, Wolverine, in that respect, the fact that he wasn't proud or invested being a superhero cost the lives of his friends.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way Hugh Jackman delivers that scene, just like the sadness of and him telling Laura of all people, him telling X-23, Daphne Keane, of course, returning, doing a great job, growing up, just like telling her like that's why I wear the suit because I was too proud to wear it then. It's just the sadness of like that's why he's wearing it because he just feels so bad that it's very much like the father who didn't do right by the kid who's gone now, which of course being with Laura is very kind of appropriate. It's like the too little, too late kind of. He's like wearing his tragedy under it's so perfect, I love that it's like after all this time, it's like it's kind of looking at comic book movies and saying, why do we put him in the suit? Well, give him here's an idea. Don't just scoff at the idea of putting him in costumes. Maybe give him a good reason for wearing the costume. For Superman, his mom made it for him. Good enough for me.
Well, it's kind of interesting to have him wear the costume underneath his clothes because it's very evocative of the Superman, Spider-Man thing of like having your superhero like clothes on the ready. Because those guys, like when they have their superhero costumes underneath, it's whenever danger erupts. and you basically have an easier opportunity to change into your super outfit and do save the day.
Oh, unless you're Deadpool in a phone booth, but yes.
Yeah, but for Wolverine, it's like it's kind of like him wearing like an albatross or having kind of this marked, symbol of shame that only he's aware of and no one else is. But the fact that he knows, like it just prolongs his like depression and sorrow.
All right, a few comments real quick. Okay, executive judge asked, who did Channing Tatum play in Free Guy? So he was in Free Guy. There was a scene where Guy and company they basically were trying to get this piece of basically the evidence to take down the Taika Waititi character, and they had to go to a gamer who basically had access to this, and the gamer basically his player was. Basically his avatar was Channing Tatum. In reality, he was like the arcade guy from Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's see. So nice. Romello asked, "Did you guys think Cyclops, Jeans, Storm, and Beast portrayed by the original cast and made cameo appearance in the film?" Honestly, when I thought we were going to do the old man Logan backstory, I thought we might horrifically kill them. That's the only time I thought they might show up. But so aside from that, I didn't really think we were going to get them, because I thought, again, we kind of Deadpool's making fun of them blowing the budget, and you have to wonder at a certain point, like, yeah, we can't afford Kelsey Grammer,
or like just more about scheduling, really. But I think also, I would have thought they could have done like, I was thinking that this movie could have done or would have done something similar to the gag in Deadpool 2, where it's like you see the X-Men in the background and close the door.
Yeah.
Something like that, or even like for either the X-Men or even the Avengers would have been really funny.
Yeah. It would have been really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Romello also asked, "Did you guys see the alternate ending of the Wolverine?" Yes, I did. Yeah, we both did, and yeah, it's great. But I mean, ultimately, we're gonna do we finally put him in the costume, but so I mean, it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's see. Let's see. We have the Resistance. Okay, so point being, we have some nice action going on there. We don't have to dwell on that, but we do have we have the portal helmet. So eventually, after we put the Juggernaut's helmet, after Laura frickin' beheads him. I will say this: I think it's such a shame, because I love this actor. It's a shame we couldn't have gotten Vinnie Jones to come back as the Juggernaut, but they asked him and he said no. It's just a shame, But anyway, we eventually convinced Cassandra to let him home, and we do it via the Doctor Strange portal, which again, it's a bit of a nod to the whole multiverse of madness thing, but primarily it's a nod to the awesome portal scene from Endgame. That's the main reason we're doing the portal, and we kind of time it perfectly with Goliath coming to get him. And I love the song choice of Jimmy Durante singing. I love it so much. It's like this movie gets my musical taste. I love it.
And I appreciate, like, as Deadpool Wolverine are fighting Cassandra Nova, like the Resistance are kicking a lot of ass, and like it goes to show that, like, oh, they're not like, it's the complete opposite of how X Force turned out. Because obviously the X Force, they were just utilized for a lot of like strong comedy. But for Resistance, like, they're giving their moments to just like be badasses and look cool. And man, Gambit, like Channing Tatum Gambit, just has so much swagger.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
He's got swagger. We have Jennifer Gardner Electra has always been like the lamest, always kind of got the lamest kind of rap. Like we see her taking care of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So they end up home. Then we have kind of like with the portal as well. We have the Deadpool version of Endgame, where out of one giant portal comes the entire Deadpool Corps.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the Deadpool, a few of the Deadpool variants real quick. So we have Nice Pool and Dog Pool. There's a lot of Dog Pool in this, but I know you might think we sidestep Dog Pool. Dog Pool's is cute and it fits its own brands. The idea of like a butt ugly dog is Deadpool.
Nice Pool is such a funny performance by.
I laughed so hard when we revealed that Nicepool did not have a healing factor, and I love that it made sense because he wasn't scarred up. So of course he didn't have a healing factor.
Mhm.
Oh, it's great. Had like all day this luxurious like mane of hair and everything. And he's de-aged Ryan Reynolds. Oh, it's great. So Lady Pool, played by Blake Lively.
Yeah, and then you have Cowboy Pool, played by Matthew McConaughey.
Yep, and we have Head Pool, played by the wonderful Nathan Fillion, who, by the way, not many people know this, did cameo in the first Deadpool movie, but his cameo got cut.
Oh man, Nathan Fillion just cut cameos.
Yeah, with with James Gunn and then with Tim Miller. To be fair, it wasn't like an egregious cut. It was like it was a very small. Like, he was just a man in the. Do you remember? So one of my favorite scenes in the first Deadpool movie is when he's about to talk to Vanessa, and then he loses his nerve and he goes to the bathroom, and you have like Stanley saying, you remember you can't buy love, but you can rent it for 3 minutes. And Deadpool goes to the bathroom and he's like chewing himself out and he like washes his face and he's about to go back out there. So the way the scene originally was, you would have panned or like you would have seen like a bit of a wider shot, or you would have panned to like the right, so you have seen in the bathroom while he's doing that. It's Nathan Fillion with a mustache. That's it. You didn't say anything or do anything. He was just there. So you didn't miss much with Fillion. Here, at least we made him like, hey, he's Deadpool. That's even better. And kind of a nod to another Nathan Fillion role. Nathan Fillion in Santa Clarita Diet was a disembodied zombie head.
Oh wow,
Which kind of fits. So he's playing a disembodied zombie head here. That is Deadpool. Pretty cool.
yeah.
Anyway, so the Kid Pool and Baby Pool are inspired, and I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds' kids do the voice of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we made Kid Pool, traditionally Kid Pool's a boy, but we made Kid Pool a girl, I'm pretty sure, by the sound of things. I think that's Ryan Reynolds' daughter. He has a newborn son, so I'm not saying that he's like in the baby's clearly CG. I'm just saying, like, I think it's a nod.
Just cleverly just skirting the line, but not fully crossing the child labor laws.
I'm going to say this is I'm going to take that joke and I'm going to turn to something really sincere. Ryan Reynolds did something really nice recently. There was a man who likes to cosplay as Deadpool to like raise awareness and like kind of like a charity walk sort of thing.
Okay.
Basically, the guy is like he wears. It's really weird. I think he's a guy from like it ties into his Wrexham thing. They say a guy from the UK, I guess.
Oh, is this the Welsh guy with the dragon symbol in the front, or?
Well, it's it might be a Welsh guy with like a bathtub around him with all the ducks on it. That ring a bell?
No.
Okay, the point being, there's this poor guy, this poor father who dresses up like Deadpool, and he wears his bathtub. It's a symbol for his grief. The bathtub with all these little ducks and like stickers and stuff on it. Basically, his son died, I believe, of cancer. His son, well, I don't know if it was cancer, or if it was potentially a suicide. But the point being, his son passed away at a young age. It was very sad, and his son loved Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds like visited him and also gave him like this really nice thing where he had Bill Corso or someone do the Deadpool makeup on the guy to help his cosplay look even more amazing. And it's this beautiful thing. He sat down with him and says, "Look, I just have one question for you. I want you to tell me about your son." And it was really nice because Ryan Reynolds just recently had like yet the umpteenth kid. He's like, he's a kid 4 or 5 now. He really likes Blake Lively. I'll tell you that much, kids. But he finally had a son. He's had like 3 or 4 daughters. He's got his son, so I think it affected him. Anyway, so just a little side tangent there. Okay, so this is great, Gaggy, for like the Deadpool core and like all sorts of Deadpools and great Easter eggs there, like Zenpools in the bunch. My favorite deep cut they had there was Deadpool 2099. They had the Deadpool's daughter from the future that they had with Shikla. She was like, she was there. And you can tell with the glowing costume and everything. That's really cool.
What was a cool reference I saw was Zenpool.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun to see.
Yeah. You have Zenpool, and there's the Japanese Deadpool, and there's the Marvel. I think it's God, I forget what year it is, but it's like the old timey Deadpool. Like
Oh,
the one, yes.
1602?
What?
Is it 1602?
I think it's 1602. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Renaissance fair or like medieval England.
Yeah, there's like one with there's also one with a gas mask. I forget which one that is, but there's one with a gas mask, which I remember from the comics.
Oh, I think that's probably kind of like how like in the Flash show, there's like Accelerator Man, who's like a World War One steampunk guy to take on the Flash.
Yeah.
So that could be that could be that kind of take for Deadpool.
I believe so. I saw the comic that he's in. That was like one of those Marvels with a year.
It could be like Marvel Noir Deadpool. I mean, I don't know what his look is, but it could be that. Like,
possibly, but that's the thing. But also, there was like a Canadian Deadpool. There's a Wrexham Deadpool. There's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, point being, we have all these Deadpools in the Deadpool Corps. Then basically this is where we get the moment, kids. Wolverine to basically take on all these Deadpools, which he's looking very forward to. He puts on the cowl. He puts on the mask.
I will say this. Someone pointed this out to me, and now I kind of wish it was the case for the movie, was that his look is great, but I wish he had the shoulder pads. Because he had
come on, not you too, Rohit. No, come on.
Well, the shoulder pads is.
I know the shoulder pads would have been better. I know, all right, but it's come on, like to make it.
If he looked great, and the shoulder pads were just good, put a little extra.
I know they would. Look, here's what drives me nuts about the shoulder pads. Okay, the hot toys they put out for Deadpool and Wolverine from this movie, which I desperately want, by the way. Mm-hmm. The Wolverine one, he's like, I got to pick between the two. I have to go with Deadpool, but it's like I'm so tempted with Wolverine because he comes with, you can put the sleeves on. You have all three versions of the sleeves. You have the full sleeves. You have the sleeves without the shoulder pads, and you have the shoulder pads without the sleeves. So you have like the perfect version you're looking for in Hot Toys form. So you can actually see what that looks like officially.
Man.
Anyway, but I hear you, and yes, I agree. But it's like it floors me. Like he still doesn't have the shoulder pads. Like, come on, guys, we've got a natural way to remove the sleeves and give him the shoulder pad. Well, remove the sleeves and have them without the sleeves, and have the mask on and look like classic Wolverine. There's like the blue tears there, so they're kind of represented. It's like, come on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still a great look. I mean, the fact that he wore the cowl was just great.
Yeah.
And he looks great in the cowl, but I also think that like the way, like, yes, you have to build up to him wearing the cowl, but also him having the cowl, it's like you couldn't do like a lot of dramatic scenes. I mean, I will say this, like Hugh Jackman did a pretty good like dramatic performance at the very, very end of the movie when they're about to like go to the Time Ripper.
Yeah.
Like, he did good like vocal intonation and all that stuff, but like doing like it makes sense that if Wolverine has his full cowl and all that stuff in like the regular MCU for MCU Wolverine, I would not be surprised if it's like everything like it's full of the cowl, but it's not wide irises. You can see the actor's eyes. Because I think for like sequences where the actors are just acting and emoting, there's only so much you can do with white irises that don't move. So the fact that like Hugh Jackman, when he has the cowl, it's like for the action sequences and just like a brief dramatic sequence in the movie, like before getting to the Time Ripper thing. That's probably the furthest he can do with the white irises that just don't move. But seeing it was really cool.
So the action sequence itself, again, really great money shot stuff. We have like Deadpool and Wolverine fighting a barrage of Deadpools all in one shot to the Madonna song. And it's just from the trailers and everything. And it looks amazing. Him crashing through the glass and striking some iconic Wolverine poses, and the punchline being, they all get up again because they have healing factors, except Nice Pool. They all have healing factors, and they get back up, which I was expecting. It's like, I mean, this is great, but as the sequence is going on, well, this is great, but this is a little too easy. And then they all get up. It's like, yep, that's right. That's right. They got it. They got it.
Yeah, no, What I really appreciated for when we see Wolverine's claws pop out.
Yeah.
It has like the silver ridges,
Yeah.
the knuckles.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's built into the costume, which is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just crazy. It's just everyone, like, when they were doing the costume test, all the grown men were crying, seeing Wolverine finally represented like perfectly. And I got to admit, there is something hypnotic about seeing him in the costume, right?
Especially at the end where it's like sleeveless and he has the cowl.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like, again, you're seeing your childhood completely brought to life. Like, you've always wondered, what would it look like? Because, again, those X-Men movies were huge, and they made, again, second to Blade, they birthed the comic book movie. So it's very important, but that was like the hesitation of like, this is all really good, but, you know, if only they were wearing the costumes. And Wolverine being the X-Man, as Deadpool put it, it's like, you know, if we just, you know, it's like just finally seeing that, like, after 20 effing years, as Deadpool puts it, you know, just like seeing it corrected. There's something magic about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, like I can't think of any other superheroes that like I from the Marvel legacy that I want to see the classic comic book look. I mean, the only like Marvel like superhero that I want to see in the classic comic book that's outside the MCU, like I would love to see Andrew Garfield in his like Venom style costume. Like that would be cool. But like just see like the fact the fact that like we were so close to for Hugh Jackman to put on an outfit, but for most of his tenure he's like in civilian clothing or he's in like black leather military outfits. Like it just felt like a splash of cold refreshing water on fans. And I mean like seeing that image pop up where we saw Deadpool and Wolverine next to each other that was posted by Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, it's like, oh, they know what they're wanting to say or wanting to do with this movie. So yeah, there's really like there's never going to be any other moment that like rivals like, oh, we waited so long for this character to do this or have this. I will say, oh, actually, okay. So when we get to the end of the movie, when we have like I'll do like it's like someone said a line like I'll do my best or whatever. I really feel like we also missed out on Wolverine on Hugh Jackman. Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'm the best of what I do. What I do isn't nice.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. A little bit.
We'll have that for Secret Wars.
There you go. Or like Deadpool hyping him up to say it. Like, say the line, go on.
Oh man, in light of SDCC news, the opening cinematic of Marvel Ultimate Alliance can be realized.
Oh yeah, you're right. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's see, Ramon Malone, do you guys think the Wolverine mask was CGI? No, I think it was practical, but the eyes are enhanced. The eyes are CGI.
Yeah, I think like how like for the Spider-Man mask, it's like the actual
Yeah.
mask, but with that's how I was thinking.
So Hugh Jackman can there are probably eye holes that Hugh Jackman's looking through there, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think in certain scenes, like when he takes the for example, he takes the mask off, like there are white parts in the eyes there. I'm just saying, like when he puts it on, it's like probably it's like how they did Rorschach and Watchmen. You know, Jackie Earle Haley, like the eye, he can. It's like a sock with like a giant hole in it. They add the pattern and kind of cover the eyes and CG afterwards. So that's kind of how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Jacob mentions leaving Dogpool alone was a nice touch. Like, yeah, it was. I love that Wolverines just kind of walk aside with the dog and just like carry him to safety. All those Deadpools have two things in common. They love Dogpool. And they love Peter. So I love that Peter shows up in the Deadpool costume and just kind of like, again, that's the scene where it becomes clear to you that, yeah, we could have made him Bob. Anyway. So our big sacrificial moment here. I could sense that Deadpool was about to take the hit, but I love that it was a compelling goodbye between the two of them, where it's just this really sweet and also kind of meta thing where he kind of speaks of the friendship between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, where it's like he says, I really look forward to this team up, and just kind of thanking him for it in a really genuine way. I love they both kind of like, it's a Wolverine who's kind of at the end of his rope, so he very likely could have done the sacrifice, but just the fact that you knew based on the Happy Hogan opening, Deadpool had to do this.
Mhm.
And I like that we kind of had I love that we kind of had almost a somewhat kind of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of solution here.
Power
To
of
the
friendship,
problem.
yeah.
The idea like where basically it's like I love that it doesn't feel too much like a cheat here, where it's like we specified if one person destroyed the Time Ripper or like like diffused the Time Ripper, they would have died. But if it's two people, especially two indestructible people, I think the chances are it's gonna basically there's a better chance that it's gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's a valid cheat. See if you're going to have that. A lot of people say, "Oh man, they should have died, or one of them should have died, or maybe they should have been teleported to Secret Wars, or something should have happened." But I don't know. But for the ending that we get, I think it's appropriate that we did that. Also, we had like the great obligatory Marvel reference with such hilarious fourth wall, kind of like the shirtless Hugh Jackman gag. Where Hugh Jackman's shirtless in all the movies, coupled with the fact the MCU loves a shirtless male hero.
It would have been hilarious if like there was this version where like Hugh Jackman shows up like fully chiseled out, and then Deadpool shows up with his like chest, but it's all burned up, and it's like it goes from like delight to disgust.
God, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
It just occurs to me in this moment there. I wonder if it's just with the R-ratedness of Deadpool. I wonder if we're ever going to see the reverse of the double standard there. If we're ever going to see like we've seen the male heroes get kind of like their big shirtless moment. I don't know.
Well, you want Sydney Sweeney to show up as Black Cat and Bear? Okay, all right, everyone.
Wait, Sydney Sweeney.
Well, I don't know who you would think of that. Wait, who do you want? You want to see like?
I'm just saying in general, like any female MCU like character you'd imagine would maybe have like the moment. I don't know.
Man,
You're throwing out specifics there, my friend. I'm just saying it makes you wonder, like in the advent of the R-rated movie. I don't know. I'm saying it's never going to happen, but it just kind of makes it because we've done it so often. Like we've never really had the reversal of it. Even like we do the Captain Marvel movie finally, and it's like, hey, well, yeah, of course we're not going to do that part.
all right. So I'm gonna just text Ryan Reynolds. It's like show my friend really wants to see boobies.
Oh come on, no. I just think it's kind of funny at this point. But this is the most on the nose we've ever done it. We're literally having like a choir.
Did you really want to see Lady Deadpool's bare it all?
Well, don't text that to Ryan Reynolds. That's his wife. I don't want to.
It could be a body double. Big Lobby probably didn't have to be said. You could just do the ADR thing.
Oh, okay. Look, I'm trying to make a valid point here. All right.
It's an R-rated movie. We're talking about an R-rated movie, Dragon. Come on. Don't like hurt yourself clutching those pearls too long, man. My man.
All right, anyway. Okay. Regardless. Okay.
Oh man. Ooh man. Ryan Reynolds told me we have some good candidates, so you might get your wishes, Dragon.
All right, anyway. Yeah, something funny we should probably mention too, speaking of the shirtless MCU thing. How about the running gag of like Thor crying over Deadpool?
I really feel like if Chris Hemsworth like had a schedule free, he would have definitely been down to cameo in this movie.
Absolutely. Obviously Hemsworth's going through some stuff right now, so I think that might be coupled with it as well. It sounds like Hemsworth he's going to be really wrapping up the Thor stuff, because he's really worried about the whole his mental kind of state right now.
Like with the whole like with the whole like Alzheimer's gene thing.
Well, I don't know. He's been really. That's what he's been kind of hyping up in a lot of interviews. That like, if he did another Thor movie, it would have to be soon, and like he wants it to be. He wants to go on a high note with Thor versus Love and Thunder. So if he were to do it, like I think ultimately he's going to
Second
settle.
actor speak for give me more money and I will be there. But not just
Wait a. Whoa, that's a little cruel, Rohit. But okay.
no. I mean, I like Thor: Love and Thunder, but I can see. I think with the way that movie ends, just a brief diversion. I definitely think a Thor 5 is needed just to wrap up the Thor side of things, and I think with the Russos coming back, the Russos were given a lot of praise for how they depicted Thor.
That's the thing. I think ultimately that's where we're going to end up. I don't think we're going to get a Thor 5. I think it's just going to be we're going to wrap up Thor really nicely in Secret Wars.
But the Hercules post-credit scene, this song has too many post-credit scenes unresolved, damn it. We need to resolve them.
I saw. Here's the thing. Every time Comic-Con rolls around, before the Marvel panel happens, you have all sorts of fake headlines or rumored headlines, and one of them was like basically, it was a Thor movie with like Hercules in the titles, and like Hercules was going to be center.
Hercules or let's see, yeah, it's.
So yeah, I don't think it's actually until D23 rolls around. I don't think we're actually going to confirm that.
Just like no, like Doomsday is 4 hours, and like the first hour or two is just them resolving all the post-credit scene.
God.
Anyway, going back to the movie we're talking about, Deadpool.
Yeah. So so after the big sacrificial moment, B-15 shows up, hints that Deadpool and Wolverine will show up in Secret Wars, or I guess the 5 and 6. Again, I really think if they're smart, they're just going to save them coming in for Secret Wars, but I don't think they're going to put them in Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny that after they're done, it's like, oh, let's get shawarma, and then Deadpool's like, oh, Avengers discovered shawarma.
Yeah. So I really think the ending of this movie is perfect. I think it's really sweet. I think it just ended just right. We go full circle to the birthday where it's Deadpool welcoming Wolverine in a sense to join his family, which is like the carryover of like, well, you don't have anyone else from your universe. You can, basically it's like him welcoming into like being a member of the Deadpool kind of like supporting character cast, which is just, I don't know, it feels right. These two guys are linked. They are kind of like, again, to an extent, brothers. It's nice that Deadpool's on the road to patch things up with Vanessa. It's not an instant solution, but you have the idea like, you give me the dog, talk to the girl. That's a really nice moment, and like Wolverine, like Blind Al being nice to someone for a change, being nice to Wolverine. And it's like things are going good. He's got Dogpool, he's potentially got the girl, and more importantly, Wolverine, he's kind of refound the bit of the family that he lost, but more so, he's reconnecting. He's connecting with Laura. It seems like Laura's there, and in a sense, she got her father that she lost, and she would never have a chance to really kind of get to know, except through this multiversal variancy, which is like really unique and really, it just feels like a really nice epilogue to Logan. It feels like a nice epilogue for the Wolverine character. Like if Logan's the swan song, this is the epilogue for him. That's what it feels like. There's no guarantee. Admit it. Look at it cynically. The movie's going to make more money than God. Of course, they're going to try and bring him back for Secret Wars. But let's just say, for argument's sake, this is a nice epilogue for that character, for that story. That does, like, if we bring him back, it'd be nice to see Colossus throw him in a fastball special. But if not, this is a nice place to leave him, don't you think?
And I will say it's kind of interesting the way the movie ends with that, because compared to say how Spider-Man No Way Home ended, it ended like the multiverse was kind of, and all the shenanigans went about. It ended with Spider-Man kind of just being reset and then transitioning to a different status quo that's more similar to his multiversal counterparts. Whereas for Deadpool, like, either we don't know much about his multiversal counterparts, like lives and all that stuff, besides them loving Peter, like. The way Deadpool's like story ends at the end of his trilogy, it's like, oh, he gets his happy ending. It's just kind of crazy that like the R-rated like Canadian mutant mercenary that throws F-bombs or whatever has the happy ending at the end of his trilogy, whereas the family friendly, teenager like quippy, just having a good time, has the sad, bittersweet, sad ending at the end of his trilogy.
Yeah, it just feels right, it's funny, and it just feels like we've gone such a long way with them being kind of these, like, again, having, like, being introduced to each other. There's also Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's being introduced to kind of like a low point for these characters in a sense. I mean, it's Wolverine's getting a big movie, but that movie, had it been a success, was going to launch a lot of stuff for the X-Men. It failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it did a lot of damage to Deadpool, but also kind of like set him on a journey that would bring him to great prominence, and just that measured up to the comics
Yeah.
and surpassed them in many respects to some degree. I mean, Deadpool's kind of like, frankly, I think they're kind of languishing in Deadpool at the moment. And right now, it sounds like we're trying to kill him off. It's such a weird thing. We keep killing off the characters when we're doing the movies, which just feels so pointless because of course we're going to bring them back like we do. I think we killed off for a bit. I think we killed off Doctor Strange, and we got Multiverse of Madness and brought him back. And it's just the character death means nothing. But I love the movie we have here. We're treating character death with reverence, but we're also just like, again, we're bringing back Wolverine in a way that is respectful. And again, it's an epilogue. We're bringing back an epilogue that, in a sense, does everything with the character we wanted to do, and we kind of see this in kind of the mid credits, where it's like we're celebrating just kind of like the wacky road that these Fox movies kind of took us down before. The MCU spoiled us tremendously. Like, when you look back at kind of the Fox era, or just kind of like the early era of the comic book movie, it was like we were slobberingly grateful to get things like somewhat treated seriously, or at the very least on the big screen, get people, like a general audience, talking about it to the point where we could get like a Fantastic Four movie that's in the works right now, with like a Fantastic Car and a Galactus that's not a cloud,
Yeah,
and
like
we
the sheer evolution difference between X 2000 X-Men and like 2025 Fantastic Four is like they're night and day. It's like prehistoric era to modern day.
yeah.
That's how much the superhero genre in film has like evolved and changed. So
And it's refreshing. I just love that Deadpool has been kind of this paragon for, like, it's been keeping, look, optimistically, and I know Deadpool doesn't have like a lot of pull here, but I think it gets people talking about it. Deadpool Deadpool's kind of kept the superhero movies honest. He's kind of called them out on stuff, and he's just kind of pointed out, like, like, look, the MCU, we love you here, but you are at risk of kind of falling into ruts and everything, and this is kind of how you shake the status quo a little bit, you call it out, and you just gonna have fun with it. Just remember, we're doing all this for fun. Because I mean, a lot of times fandoms and everything, they get really, you never really hear anyone like egregiously going up against the Deadpool movies. You never hear anyone like railing, "Oh man, it was so bad," or "it was so this," or "it was like
there are people that don't care for the Deadpool movies,
yeah."
and I can understand that there's that the Deadpool movies have a very specific sensibility. And I think for this being the third movie, and this likely being potentially being the most successful box office wise, and getting an 8 cinema score, it's kind of interesting for how people respond to a movie that has a very specific, like, is it the sense that, oh, like Deadpool sensibilities have become sort of the norm or mainstream, or that like we've seen much more edgier stuff since like Deadpool 1 with like
Like, The Boys has changed the game as well, but we don't really get that with a Deadpool just kind of like showing the way to an extent, right?
I think there's just much more of a variety of options for like adult superhero fare. So you have like, I mean, both Deadpool and The Boys are comedic, but it's like Deadpool is like, it's basically a like raunchy action comedy, whereas The Boys is like a, it's like The Boys in the as the TV show. It's basically like, what if Paul Verhoeven like tackles superheroes?
Yeah, there you go. That's a really good comparison for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's also, it kind of goes to show too that even if people aren't interested in Deadpool, they are they're coming to this movie for Wolverine, which is why, like, this movie is making like more money than God right now. You
Yeah.
know. Okay, so Jacob wants to address this. How do you think this fares overall as the MCU's first R-rated film? I think a lot of people point out we doubled down on the cursing a little bit more in the other Deadpool fare, and it's I don't disagree with it. I don't think it's a problem, but I do think maybe we were having a little fun with like, hey, we're finally able to do this an MCU thing, second to Marvel Netflix stuff, which even so technically a lot is just more carryover than is like we're like Echo is technically is the first time we've really done that, and even so we haven't really gone really hard with that yet. So as far as R-rated MCU fare goes, this is it's a grand way if you're gonna do it. I mean, Deadpool's the way to like really really test those waters.
Yeah, and I think like as much success as it is in the R rating, really the true test of an MCU R rating is really Blade, and then whatever other R rated projects come that's specifically in the sacred timeline in the MCU, right?
Yeah, well, that's the real barometer. Deadpool's is again Deadpool similarly to the Netflix stuff is kind of a carrier. That's just how Deadpool operates.
Yeah,
Maybe we maybe had him curse a little bit extra. We had it's not just Deadpool. Here's the thing. Deadpool cursing is one thing. That's fine. That's what he does. It's more to have everyone else curse, like Gambit making dirty jokes. It's like that's where it feels like okay, where it's really kind of true. We're emphasizing a lot of that just because like we're in the R-rated camp right now.
I mean, it's kind of the thing. It's like,
and Johnny Storm being the other example too.
I mean, considering this is an R-rated comedy, I'm kind of willing to let that slide because
like it's not a complaint. I'm just saying, like if you look at it, it's like it feels like maybe we overindulged. It's not bad though. It's just we overindulged a little.
if like
like Human Torch saying like lick the cinnamon hole. That's a little it's a little much. I don't know if Johnny Storm would actually say that, but it's like he is a wisecracker. I mean, he's kind of a hot shot.
If it was Colin Farrell Bullseye, he would say much worse than that.
Well, yeah, I think that's Colin Farrell Bullseye though.
Yeah, no, that but I don't think about it. Maybe it was like certain other characters that are a little more adult, like Colin. Honest man, I wish Colin Farrell Bullseye would have been in this because he would have been so funny.
I would have liked to see that just for the fact of seeing Deadpool interact with Bullseye, because famously, they have history, which is a lot of fun. It does make me wonder if perhaps, if we're supposed to get Wilson Bethel back as Bullseye, and if that is indeed the case, if we eventually have him interact with Deadpool, that would be great. Right now, I'm concentrating on Daredevil interacting with Spider-Man, so I'm not even thinking about Bullseye and Deadpool right now. But one way or another, be a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like after Wolverine, really the next gap for Deadpool is Spider-Man.
That's my hope. Absolutely, is that we would, if we're gonna. How do you feel about Deadpool movies going forward if they were team up movies? Like, 'cause again, I love the comic series Deadpool team up, which in a sense this is a direction they could go in for Deadpool movies, where it's like Deadpool paired with Spider-Man, which is the next logical step. That's the other like bucket list thing to do with Deadpool.
I guess it's sort of a not.
It's going to be far more challenging though because of Sony, but it's the way to go.
Yeah, it's a sort of a logical progression because we went from Deadpool on his own, the first movie, to being Deadpool 2 being Deadpool, Cable, and Domino.
Yeah.
And which is kind of like a mini experts, whatever. Then 3, you have Wolverine. And then 4, it's like I think Spider-Man's kind of the natural progression because it's like this Deadpool 2 onward has been a Deadpool team up movie. So
look, if they're smart, and again, I know Sony's not, but I'm just saying emphasis on the if. Sony's smart, what they're gonna do. This next Spider movie will be the Spider-Man Daredevil kind of crossover, and then at some point you would have either within those 3 films or just as like kind of an offshoot of whatever the next 3 Holland films are, you would have Deadpool and Spider-Man, primarily because Sony, again, they need goodwill with Spider-Man pronto, because right now all they're going to have that's actually in the positive of Spider-Man is going to be Beyond the Spider-Verse until they actually do make the next MCU Spider-Man installment, which may or may not feature Daredevil, which again, fingers crossed. So however that's going to go, they need Deadpool is their ace in the hole to course correct and make the money. And, if Amy Pascal wants to live in a fancy house, that's what she's going to do.
So like Spider-Man 4 is Spider-Man Daredevil. Spider-Man 5 is Spider-Man Deadpool.
Quite possibly.
Deadpool, like the fourth Deadpool movie, will be Deadpool and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then after that, what do you do after Spider-Man? Because it's like
dealing with Deadpool. What do you do after Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. Well, let's see. After that, here's the thing. A lot of directions. The big story direction-wise, the way to go with Deadpool is either with Vanessa or not. Deadpool does have a kid in the comics. I would think that's the logical place because we did hype it up that he wants kids. We mentioned in this film, but he doesn't have a lot of vaginal sex, which is why the kids are a problem for him. He's. He has Ellie in the he has at least two daughters in the comics, one of which we saw as a variant in this film with 2099. But I imagine what we're gonna do is we change it up, and like with Vanessa, he would have Ellie.
Well, also another thing we could do with Deadpool is that after Spider-Man, it's like the next movie is like he teams up with the teammates he had on the Thunderbolts team that he's on. That was like Elektra, Punisher, Red Hulk, Ghost Rider. I don't know if Ghost Rider is on the team.
No, Ghost he wasn't on the team. No.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have just been those three. But I know there was like a red version. There might have been a red version of the leader, but there was the point being it was just those three mainly.
No, it was no. It was Deadpool, Elektra, Red Hulk, Punisher, and then Agent Venom.
Ah, right, Agent Venom. Well, that one's not going to happen.
Also, it appears. Yeah, also Ghost Rider was in that team as well. So
okay, well, the version I read there's like one. I have a volume of the Thunderbolt stuff with Deadpool, and Ghost Rider wasn't in that one specifically. So I guess I just forgot that he was probably. I mean, here actually, you know what? Well, we did joke about X-Force. If Deadpool did take another stab at X-Force, I mean that's another possibility, but I doubt it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would love it if. Oh, you're right, Deadpool and She-Hulk. That's a fun one, but I mean, Deadpool and Bullseye legitimately.
Depending on how Taskmaster's approach and Thunderbolts.
Yeah, you're right. That's the thing. If we write the ship with Taskmaster potentially, that would be one that because even Taskmaster almost was in the first Deadpool movie as the bad guy.
Yeah,
almost. Oh, actually, you know what? There's one. Okay, there's one. Let me shout this out because we're going on a little bit long. I should probably cap it off here. There's one big thing they haven't done with Deadpool. That's kind of going back to classic Deadpool that they've kind of done. Well, there are two things I would highlight. Of course, one thing I want they're never going to do. I want the Gail Simone run of Deadpool. That is my absolute bucket list.
With like Outlaw and like
yes, with Outlaw and Rohith, I will let a fanboy shriek that you could hear from wherever you are if they have Sandy Brandenburg pop up in the Deadpool movie. I will lose it. That's like my dream come true. I have like so much. I have so much. Like I've gone to Comic Cons and I've had Deadpool artists like sketch Sandy Brandenburg like as part of my. I have a collection of Sandy Brandenburg sketches because I love her as a supporting character of Deadpool. Mm-hmm. If they bring her in, man, like her, that would be the big Bob. Actually, doing a legit version of Bob would be cool. I mean, we had Bob. We bring that Bob back or do a new Bob. Just the point being, if we bring a Bob of some sort in, that'd be great. But I'm saying, like, just with the Gail Simone run, you had Agent X, you had Outlaw, and you had Sandy Brandenburg. Those were like the characters they had. It's basically Deadpool at his most successful having a small business. That's what Deadpool Inc. is. That's what the whole Gail Simone run is. I love that. They're never going to do that. We had Outlaw as like a brief art cameo, like in Deadpool 2, like she's painted on the wall behind him when they're auditioning the X-Force characters. Anyway, no, the legit thing they actually would do, a lot of people for years speculated this with the Deadpool movie, way back when, just like in terms of what the heck a Deadpool movie would be. T-Ray. T-Ray is technically Deadpool's arch enemy.
Yeah, isn't the thing with that guy with like T-Ray is like he states that he's the real Wade Wilson?
That is why it's very unlikely. That's the main reason they've delayed T-Ray. Is that T-Ray brings has a convoluted nature to him, but him's claiming to be the real Wade Wilson. I'm just saying, like he's like like he is like a very early, very big fixture of Deadpool, just like
Joe
that
Kelly,
big menace. What?
like he was prominent in the Joe Kelly run, or is he?
Exactly. Yeah, the Joe Kelly run. You're right. That's he was Joe Kelly's big bad guy for Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Mithras, or I think it was Mithras is how you say it. But the point being, like he was the big world ender threat, but we've kind of done that with this one, so I don't really think we would do that again. The point being, T-Ray's like one of the one big absentee thing with all like the classic Deadpool stuff we've that because we did Black Tom Cassidy, we did Juggernaut, we did like that and Deadpool too. So we've done a lot of the classic stuff. It's just we've done Cable, like we've hit a lot. We've hit a lot. All we haven't hit is the recent Deadpool stuff with the daughter onward. So like that's kind of like
Man, if special presentations will still be a thing in the future of the MCU, Deadpool doing like his like killing all like the reanimated like dead presidents or dead presidents like for like a July thing, especially as a Canadian, would be very funny.
Yeah, you're right. That'd be great. I mean, look, as far as like Deadpool like one shots and special presentations go, I mean, there's that'd be your thing if like Deadpool team up was like almost like an annual event where he's teaming up with one person specifically. But honestly, if you want a big movie, Deadpool killing, we haven't this movie. A lot of people speculate it might be Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. If they wanted like a one shot, just kind of fun movie, I mean, Deadpool killing a Marvel Universe is always like something they have in their back pocket they can use.
Like man, a Deadpool Howard the Duck movie would be very interesting.
Now that would be great. Now that's something the Marvel one shot could absolutely be.
Honestly, with Marvel Zombies coming out with the R rating and all that stuff, if that's successful or well done, that might give Marvel Animation the opportunity to do more R rated and mature stuff. And so you can do a lot of like if it couldn't be done through like big budget or whatever, it could be done through animation. You can have some of the actors come back to as voices and whatnot.
Yep. All right, I'm going to try and see if there's anything major we want to highlight before getting out of here and before wrapping things up. Let's see. Sorry, just give me one sec here. Oh yeah. Well, earlier it was asked. Let's see. Earlier, I forget if it was Code Geass or not. It might have been Romello. Someone asked. Someone asked about Weasel, like how we feel about. Oh, yeah, here we go. Code Geass anime fan asked, "Does the lack of T.J. Miller's Weasel hurt the quality of the film in any way?" I mean, not again. It's like with the side characters thing. Like, here's the thing. So obviously, we don't have T.J. Miller because of real life stuff, but couple things. One, Deadpool kind of hanging up the mercenary stuff. Like Weasel was essentially is in the comics, he's his booking agent for the mercenary jobs. But he runs Hell House, which is like where he would get his mercenary jobs through. So either way, he's like a broker for that. So if Deadpool's not officially murking anymore, Weasel wouldn't have a role in the movie. Which, from a writing standpoint, is why they had a perfect out for Weasel. Beyond that, too, it's just like, he would have been kind of like with the bunch anyway if he were there. And three, it's like, well, again, now have a surplus of great Deadpool supporting characters. So, especially if we're going to put Deadpool in a buddy movie with Wolverine, we really don't need Weasel, sadly.
And Weasel, like his role was just kind of like just saying random stuff, like insulting Deadpool. That's already
we don't have time for that here.
No, that's already done like through Blind Owl and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. So, like,
admittedly, and I think it's kind of a shame. I wish we had more Deepinder in this movie, but as I think we would have had to cut out more Deepinder if we had Weasel. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's something too. If we see more Deadpool, it'd be great if we had more Deepinder. But I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, here's one for you because he's been in animation. This would be a nice crossover. Hit Monkey, Deadpool and Hit Monkey.
I was thinking Hit Monkey as well. Yeah, no, it would have especially because like isn't like because Hit Monkey like interacted with like Lady Bullseye, so like Hit Monkey, Deadpool, and like Bullseye
Mm-hmm.
would be interesting.
Yeah. All right, so I want to thank all the folks for joining us here. I think it's safe to say also, well, our post credit scene too. Again, Johnny Storm getting himself killed by mouthing off to Deadpool, who remembers all this, and basically Deadpool clearing his name for the horrendous accusations that he got Johnny killed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's pretty safe to say, we're liking the movie, right? Like I'm head over heels for it. You like it, right?
I mean, the fact that we've been, just talking about how it's so cool to see Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine costume, but the only downside is him not having shoulder pads. That's like we're eating good. We're eating well.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to shout everyone out here. Little Blue, he showed up. Didn't have a lot to contribute because he didn't see the movie, but showed up. Got Romello Malone. Always great to see Romello back. Kogias anime fan as always. Executive judge. It's been a long time no see. Good to have you back as well. A lot of long time True Blue fans coming out of the woodworks here, so it's always pleasant to see. Sonia Pantoja, just basically, just as always, just saying like, hi there, it's me, Sonia, Priscilla Pantoja. Good evening, guys. Watching Sleepy Hollow on Disney Plus, so good. We had Lloyd Evangelista saying cool, as in like, yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. And we had Jacob in the comments too. So again, folks, it's been a journey. The moment has finally arrived. I'm thrilled with this movie. I can't wait to watch it like a bazillion more times. I hope to see these gentlemen pop up in Secret Wars. But hey, if they don't, if by some cruel twist of fate this is the last we ever see of them, I think we went on a high note. I don't think it's the last time we're going to see him. I think the box office says otherwise. But hey, if we're gonna justify it, I mean, this is the way to justify it. Like Deadpool and Wolverine it just makes perfect sense, and it's bags of fun. All right, take care, folks. Remember, Wolverine is the best there is at what he does. What he does isn't very nice. It's entertaining as heck, though.
I am Marvel Jesus.
Hallelujah.